Morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
All right, I now have host privileges back. Kevin, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure, and you do some great work, and we do truly appreciate it. And let's see, Christine, you are the co-host. Do you want me to make anybody else a co-host?
It doesn't matter. Marguerite, Jill, I don't know.
I need to let you all share screen.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't have the document to share. So Christine, to me, it doesn't matter.
All right, y'all have share screen capability. It is now 8 o'clock. So Christine, we are live and recording on YouTube. The meeting is now yours.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, as Hank said, it's now 8 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. We'll just jump right into things here. We'll start off with the approval of today's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for today?
Motion.
Thank you, sir.
And I second that emotion.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor, I think we could say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. So we are now to review and revise the draft annual report. So and Jill, I might have you take over, maybe guide us through this.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to
Type
and scroll at the same time.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Give me a sec.
Here we go. All right. There's a couple different ways to approach this. Since we're so small, we can finish up the recommendations. I think, in my opinion, that's probably the best place to start since we kind of are fresh in our mind. But the other thing we need to do, I think, is the introduction going into the recommendations is very customized from last year, the COVID hitting, and it's kind of lengthy. We may not want it to be so lengthy, and we may want to talk a little bit about what do we really want to highlight in the paragraph going into the recommendations, or and we can definitely just kind of give some ideas. We don't have to wordsmith that because Christine, in the past, I think you kind of crafted that around what we thought was important and what we wanted to highlight. So you can tell me either way if you want us to do that word for word, or if you want us to just give you some basic ideas about what to put in it, and then you can craft it. But it is pretty lengthy, and it really targets more of what happened a year ago when we went into this more than where we are now. If you could enlarge that a little bit, that would be, actually, I have my own copy here, so I can look at it.
Hey, Jill, I like the first paragraph. It's just, if you wanted to shorten, I didn't read the rest of it, but the first one may not be bad to keep in. I don't know. That's just a suggestion. And get rid of the rest. I don't know.
Okay, that's a good, well, let's look at that.
Yeah, and the paragraph about the worldwide pandemic is pretty good.
Yeah. All right.
Quick question. How much minutes am I taking today? I mean, it seems like that we are wordsmithing the document. Yeah, it's going back and forth. Hank, what is your take on? Oh, did he leave?
I don't know. I
No,
would,
no, you need to take minutes as if it was any other meeting. You got to capture all the commentary. I mean, not every word, but the gist.
So my suggestion, Margaret, and was just maybe we could look at keeping a couple paragraphs or a paragraph and getting rid of what we don't like. That was just a suggestion. And then Mike said he liked the paragraph with worldwide pandemic, I believe.
Yes.
And I didn't think the paragraph above was bad either, but that was just me.
I would agree with that. The paragraph above is kind of general. Yeah, it's not a bad paragraph either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine.
We talking about the first paragraph? I'm sorry, I was,
Yes.
Yes.
First
Yeah,
and
Brian, that's what I was talking about. And then Mike thought the second paragraph looked good too.
Second paragraph.
maybe with the first paragraph, we should say something along the lines of throughout the pandemic rather
Yes.
than prior to, because,
I would keep COVID in there as well. Not take COVID out because we don't know if we have another pandemic coming. Which sounds kind of a downer, but
Thank you, Marguerite.
Margaret, no offense, but bite your tongue.
but maybe
Yeah.
also put like throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, schools have closed, reopened, students have been in virtual, doing distance learning, hybrid or in-person learning.
How about throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, disruption to traditional education?
Yeah.
I think I like that disruption to traditional education.
oops.
I think I would say throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, school district experienced disruption to the traditional education delivery.
And then traditional right before education. Nope.
Oh, sorry.
No stress today, Christine. It's okay.
Well, and if people want to use the chat, that was very helpful yesterday, I think, when people would put sentences and phrases into the chat that could be cut and pasted. We might want to use that mechanism to make it a little less stressful for the typing.
So throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, school district experienced disruption to traditional education by closing schools and reopening partially for hybrid learning.
Well, the closings, could we put something about the closings have been kind of intermittent? They would close and open and then they'd close again. And then people would come back in little pieces, like, students with disabilities would come back when the gen ed kids, so we have to say something, I think, about it being kind of
not in every school district. I mean, most school district went solely virtual. And I mean, Prince George had kind of the special ed kids coming back into the building, but that was an anomaly. Not every school district did that.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's kind of one of those, we had to put something in there that I think makes it was disruptive because, number one, we were closed, but it was also disruptive because it wasn't consistent. People came back. Some people felt it was safe, and they, particularly over the summer, they did think, they allowed students with disabilities and EL to come back. And then some school systems closed that down, because COVID got worse. And then they stayed closed down, and now we're back again. So it has been intermittent for some school systems. It's been in and out. So I don't know exactly how to word that, but I know that that's part of the disruption. It's not just closed and we're doing all virtual and now we're open. It was that intermittent of some school systems, and it's a good thing that every locality has their own ability to do that. But that is part of the disruption, is determining, just when you think you're back or when you think you're going to go back, even before people would even get back, it would close again because COVID got worse.
Well, why don't we just say something like put a period after practices and then say school divisions throughout the Commonwealth did all that,
I like the way you put it in the, Mike Garrison put it in the, Mike Garrison.
I was going to say the chat helps. As I tried to look at the chat, Brian was talking and then I lost track of what to capture.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. I like the way you put that. You captured exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah, it's got to be two different sentences.
And instead of ways, I would put modalities.
Oh, yes. That's a good.
Throw a big word in there.
I'm out.
I'm on top of my game this morning.
Well, good. I was up very late last night, so I probably could be a little more on top of it, but.
That's why you have a team. But not everyone's on top of it every day,
Well, Mike, you captured exactly what I was thinking. So thank you for that. That's perfect.
So then I would have a new paragraph after that.
Yeah, I mean, the board knows what's going on,
Yeah, the 5 sentences per paragraph is a lie.
And here, can you scroll down a little bit? I know I just looked at the previous year, 2018, 2019 annual report. And here we kind of also did some overall commendation type of paragraph too. I would maybe you could put something in there. About how, the VDOE, provided resources and, that type of stuff.
Do we have a paragraph from down below that we could steal?
I mean, do we need that second paragraph right here?
Not if it was used last year. Do you guys still? I liked it before, but I can see the direction we're going.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Was this?
It was
Yeah.
applicable to the work we had done in the previous year. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would take that out.
take out the whole paragraph. See what it looks
Okay.
like.
Let's see.
So without question, the last sentence in this paragraph with the worldwide pandemic is 100% appropriate.
Could we also put in something about the gap between a special ed student and general ed student? There's also a gap between affluent families and poverty families. Because virtual learning was not conducive for every family.
There's low-income families and limited internet access are among the most marginalized.
Yeah, I think that covers that.
I think it covers it. Both those, the second and third sentence cover that.
Mhm.
I don't dislike that paragraph.
Yeah. I mean, it takes 2 sentences to say what Marguerite said, but
I felt I heard that from people in Richmond City, that the assumption was that parents would watch their children while they're learning virtually, not taking into account that a lot of families, low income families, are working 2 or 3 jobs, and they had no supervision. And I think this assumption is just not okay. The assumption that parents are staying home and watching their children learn online and provide supervision when they don't have enough food on the table, when they have to fight to provide a shelter over their homes, over their houses. I mean, it got me really, really upset when I saw what some families are going through.
So, Marguerite, the last sentence, that school divisions begin to prepare for the new school year. Consideration should be taken into account regarding
I see.
parents working or something like that, the stress.
That parents need to have childcare provided, that parents have to work to provide health insurance. I mean, think about it, if COVID really hits and they need to go to the hospital, those amount of money. I mean, if a parent stays home with a child and loses their health insurance, it's just unfathomable. And we make the assumption from school district, we are providing online learning and student can follow. Some of the students that I know and work with, some of the families as a school social worker, they had to provide supervision for their little ones and they could not learn themselves.
Holistic.
So after the sentence that talks about marginal, the marginal population, that's up there, I guess that's the first sentence.
Yeah.
Is there something we could put after that that captures a phrase that would capture the hardship, caused by families that were not able to, that needed to continue to work or weren't able to stay home, something, because it kind of, that's where it blends in with the whole.
Yeah, I mean, the bandwidth is so wide. I heard from teachers in Henrico, they quit their jobs. I mean, very good teachers, autism teachers, to stay home with their child because they did not get the right education. In order to provide education for other kids, they are providing now the education for their own child. But not everybody is an educator. Not every parent has the ability to.
So hardships that were experienced due to within household, due to the need to work, and technology. The technology.
So I threw up something we can work on in chat.
Yeah. I think a sentence after that first sentence to pull that together would be good. Like Christine, I like the way you started that, but I think that's the right place to put it. And then when we go down to, as schools divisions begin to prepare, we need to change that because we're already back in school. So the last sentence, I like the end of that sentence, but I think the first part of that sentence needs to be changed because we are in school.
But school division are preparing for next year as well, because some kids are really doing well hybrid and virtual, but not all of them.
But I think that transition sentence is not I think we should write something that's going to encompass being in school and as we, as we continue to plan to be in school. you
Okay,
know,
sounds good.
So this will be presented while the kiddos are still in school?
There'll probably be some kids in school. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about when this thing lands.
it does land. It lands at the beginning of this. It does land, and this goes into effect with us in July. But I'm thinking some
Well, I
schools,
mean, the
some
board will
schools are
hear
going
it
to
in
go through the
June, yeah.
summer. Yeah.
Right,
don't think- I don't
the
think-
report will be given in June. And so as school divisions begin planning for the fall,
Well, I think some school divisions are going to plan to be there all summer. I mean, some school divisions, not all of them, everybody's going to do something different. But I don't think we should just assume that everybody's going to stop over the summer and then we're just going to go back in the fall. I think a lot of divisions are going to continue over the summer. They've had a lot of discussions about that, superintendents.
The ESY war is already on.
So maybe something about as students continue to
Adapt.
prepare, or consider as students consider or as instruction and learning continues over the summer and into the fall, something like that, a transition as instruction and learning continues over the summer or into the fall. And somebody can word that better, but well, I was thinking it would go at the end, but that's all right. I see what you did.
is that where you were saying you wanted it?
Yeah, and then take out the as school divisions begin preparing for the new school year. I think you could say leave that there are some considerations that need to be made after the sentence you already put there. So as school divisions begin to prepare for the new school year, yeah, that needs to be taken out because you worded it as instruction and learning continues through the summer and into the fall. There are some considerations that need to be addressed. So the rest of that sentence.
You would just tie it into what's below.
Right.
There you go.
Number one, I would say parents of low-income students are often unable to provide supervision during the day while their children are
During the workday.
during the workday or something like that.
And also, special ed student did not receive all the support that they needed. So, specialized instruction or even hands-on support was not provided. And so some of those students really needed that in order to be successful, and they had no support.
So I think we need to be very, I hear you, and I know that's going on, but we need to be very careful to not we need to word that in a way that it's not all, but say many students.
That's definitely not the case in Roanoke County where I'm from.
No, it's not the case
Yeah.
it's not the case in a lot of places, but it is in some places. And so I think, in the places where those people are they're struggling. So yeah, but just to capture by saying many, but not, we don't want to make it sound like it's everybody.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I'm not sure I would put the parents of low income students or
Just say parents.
Just say parents.
Yeah, parents, because some parents have important jobs they got to go to, and they're not low income, but they can't be there with their students, with their kids.
Yeah, parents. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I run my own business, and it was extremely challenging.
I mean, it was it was for me. I mean, I could not stay home, and my husband stayed home and worked from home. But at the same time, he could not provide the learning supervision for our son because he needed so much support, and so we couldn't provide that for him.
So the
yeah.
the rub is that a lot of the parents of low-income students, or just maybe the grandparents, are watching the students, and they were the most high risk to catch COVID-19, you know?
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know. I'm not saying you have to say anything. I'm just saying what you guys already know.
And you could, I think you could put in many cases, parents are often unable in many cases, because it's not all cases. I mean, because I work with teachers who are, you know, at meetings, and, you know, it's many cases, but not all, during the workday. Enough that it's a problem, enough that it needs to be highlighted.
Yeah.
Do you need to say parents/teachers there?
No, parent, teacher's a parent. Parents, it's interchangeable.
All right.
I was just trying, I was saying, for example, you know, you do have a lot of people who work, like Mike said, he has his own business. It's tough.
Yeah.
But
So can we also
Yeah.
say number 3? So number 2 talks about challenging behavior and mental health. But I think number 3 should talk about special education student who did not receive, and we can say many special education student did not receive the needed support in the home.
I would say maybe services within the IEP.
Yeah.
I'm thinking what I just put in the chat as a start for number 3, and then you can wordsmith it. But delivery of specialized instruction was severely compromised in a virtual environment for many students, for a lot of our most, you know, just trying to get away from, I'm trying to have more descriptive words. I don't know.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without attacking the school system.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Can we also put something in terms of there is increasing concerns with the current numbers that the gap between general education and special education is deepening?
Would that be a recommendation instead?
I don't think we can add that to recommendations right now.
But there is concern if we look at the numbers in Henry County and Fairfax County, the gap between special education students and their performances and general education students are mind-blowing.
I would
so we
add,
have-
you could probably add something like that to number 3.
yeah, I mean we have
And
the numbers already.
And I would just say, and has increased the, yeah.
I like that widening the gap between general education and special education students. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like that. The way you started that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Good work, man. It's coming along.
2 paragraphs down.
So I would just say that paragraph is way too big, and I would break it up where we start with as instruction. You got it, Christine. Yeah.
Very good.
In today's world, people can't read more than 3 or 4 sentences in a paragraph.
I can barely read a sentence, so you guys are.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. In the past, the boards, they really have read through our plan very carefully. And the first couple of years we did it, they really did ask a lot of questions that they covered it. They read it. But this last year, I think they got a little tired. I don't know, or it was very thorough. I want to say we were very thorough.
Who
They
did
didn't ask any questions, which was really interesting. But we walked away feeling pretty good about that. So I guess now we're ready for the recommend. Let's see. I guess look at the whole thing.
Messages from-
Something's wrong with that second sentence.
There have
That's your sentence, Mike.
Well, there's a word missing somehow.
throughout COVID-19.
As school divisions begin preparing the new school year, there are some
Can we,
That have affected.
Oh, yeah, there is something missing. It says, as in your chat box, as school divisions begin preparing for the new school year, there are some considerations that need to be, oh no, that's the different one. Okay. Throughout COVID-19 pandemic, school districts experience massive disruption in traditional education. There have been opening, closings, hybrids. Yeah, that's what you wrote. But we could,
can we say many schools experience opening and closing, hybrid learning, and many other modalities in order to deliver education?
Yeah, delivered is not a good word at the end. Provided.
Implemented.
Yeah, implemented, provided. Yeah, delivered is what bothered me there.
But I don't like that education has been attempted to be implemented. That does not make sense to me. Maybe I'm looking that wrongly.
Let's say of instruction.
Instruction.
Of instruction. Instead of that education, say of instruction.
Yeah, of instruction. That sounds better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's clear. That flows. That have been attempted.
Yeah.
It's got to be that before have. There you go.
Yeah, that sounds better.
I would take out been.
Is that what you said? Is that right?
Yeah.
If you don't want have been up above, there were, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. There were. Okay, sweet.
that looks good.
Recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
What about that last paragraph? We're going to leave that. I was thinking, students.
Do we want, just real quick, do you want to, typically there has been a statement within this paragraph about inclusion that, the students being in the least restrictive environment, that they are receiving inclusivity.
Well, with the pandemic, they certainly are losing the opportunity for that because they're not in school. And I think it sounds good the way it is, but if we want to include it, that's fine too. It would be they're not, but gen ed's not getting that. I mean, everybody is kind of in that same boat. So if we want to put something in there about that, it would probably be, it would have to be like a number in the second
Like
paragraph.
a number 4.
Yeah.
the virtual environment is the most I don't know.
No, it's just it
Virtual
impedes with the opportunity to
Would be-
it impedes or interferes, whatever word you want to. It interferes with the opportunity for students to be inclusive. Yeah, the environment, the learning environment. I mean,
For an
some
inclusive
class-
learning environment.
right. Well, in some class, and I'm thinking that through because some classrooms, they do the classroom like we're doing right now. So the kids are still in the classroom with their peers. They see them on the screen. I mean, it's not, they are being included, but it's in a different way. Is that bad? You know, it's better to do things in person, even when you're with your friends, you know, but so I don't want to get too far in the weeds with it, but that's where it impacts that social emotional piece because they are on the screen with their friends. They do see their friends, but it's not the same as being in person with your friend. So it's not, so it is, it's the type of inclusive environment impacts.
Now, is that any different than general education students?
It isn't. No,
Oh, okay.
everybody's in the same boat. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It just impedes the whole inclusive process the way we're used to it. But it is inclusion. They are included. They're seeing their friends. It's just that's where the social emotional piece gets, you know, into it because it's.
Would you say their virtual learning interferes with opportunities for inclusive learning and socialization?
Yeah, I wouldn't say inclusive learning because like I said, some people would
Can you
take
just-
issue with that.
Can you just say opportunities for inclusivity?
In person. Because I mean,
Well,
what we're doing right
Well,
now is inclusive.
So let me ask you something for a second. If you had a social goal on your IEP, you'd have to be creative with implementing that in virtual learning.
That's true.
So are you saying inclusivity or are you talking about socialization?
That's what I'm thinking because I think inclusive learning can happen virtually. It happens, and some teachers are very good at it. Like the presenter said yesterday, you know, or somebody said yesterday that you know you can be inclusive. You can be very creative. A lot of people don't know how to do that. A lot of people may not have the technology to do that or the means to do that, the bandwidth to do that. But it's more, you know, it's the type of so I'd be careful talking about inclusive, lacking inclusive. I would be careful with that because I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with number 4, the way it's written, because I think that in some regards, inclusion is enhanced in a virtual environment than especially with serious physical challenges, depending upon what's going on. So I mean, it's true, right? But it's not unique to our population.
Yeah, I agree.
So for folks who want to do asynchronous learning, maybe they excel at individual activities and then that's the challenge of creativity. But I think what I'm hearing you say is socialization and it's not inclusion. It's the natural way that we communicate with people. It's just
I think the socialization, I think you're on there, Matt, because like my son has struggled incredibly with aggression in the past, right? And so
right.
The online virtual learning environment provides no opportunity to manage and work around those kinds of inappropriate social behaviors, right? So the only thing you're managing in an inclusive environment is, and you can always mute, it's like the stimming and things like that. And so I think it's more about socialization than it is about inclusivity.
See, and I haven't been a special ed teacher for many years, so I don't know what people are writing on their goal. The IEPs right now is creativity for that.
Yeah.
And Brian, your students are all in person, correct? Didn't you say that?
Yes.
Yeah, he's in the same county.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should just say something about, students have been, or
Social emotional
there's been a
learning.
negative impact on students' social, emotional, and mental health throughout.
Yes, I like that. A negative impact. Again,
Yeah.
it's
Social
not-
emotional learning among peers suffer due to not in-person learning.
I like the way you said that earlier. Just that's Brian, the social. How did you say it? Social emotional learning.
I
Yeah,
just
I
said
need help.
there's been a negative impact on students' social, emotional, and mental health
Yes.
throughout this pandemic.
Yes, I like that.
Fact.
So just rewrite the whole sentence, huh?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, Mike? I think that,
What Brian said is perfect.
yeah, okay. I just want to say this while she's retyping it. Read an interesting article the other day. They talked about folks who are along the spectrum or folks who prefer to learn independently on their own, where maybe they struggled with socialization and things. Maybe some of them are doing really well virtually, whereas and they talked about the new future of employment being more teleworking and things like that, and this could be an accommodation for some people. I just thought that was interesting. I never heard of that. I'm not saying it's accurate, but I would think that the things we've been doing traditionally and the accommodations we fought for with employers to accept people in the workplace, but this could be the future of the workplace, more teleworking.
I'll tell you, as someone who works across the globe as a business coach, that everything we're talking about, the virtual environment, is something that has been just as disruptive in the private sector. And I think it creates some opportunities, and it also takes a lot away. The same exact situation.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Do you finish that sentence?
I did.
Thanks.
How's that look?
There's been
Can
a
we add,
negative-
Christine, can we add something to number 3? Can we add significantly and students with disability, so the gap between educational student and students with disability significantly? Because the data shows it's a significant gap.
I thought we put that in there.
Widening.
We said widening the gap between, and I think we need to put that significantly in the end. Yeah.
I would say widening the gap significantly between general education students.
Perfect.
I think that's better English.
Yeah, thank you. It's not my first language, but yeah, thank you. That's much better.
We got you, Marguerite. Don't worry.
Thank you. And I don't know why you want me as a secretary, seriously.
So significantly, Christine, right before widening. Oh no, that's good. What do you guys think about where she's got now? I like it. Yeah.
Everything looks good.
Yeah, looks
Yeah.
great.
Perfect.
Good
I
job.
love it.
So now we're ready to hit those.
Wait,
recommendations.
can we, I think we need to look at the third paragraph there.
Too late.
Make it green, make it green. I think it should say something along the lines of students with disabilities must remain a priority as schools determine their education plan over the summer and fall in the following school year.
I agree, because so many times special education was an afterthought. I think that the main focus was on the general education population, not on special education.
So did you say over the summer and for the school year?
Over the summer and following school year.
Okay.
I'll be right back, everybody.
the new school year. You need to take fall out, yeah.
All right, let's take a break.
Cool.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's time for bacon.
Well. Okay.
So I was a trendsetter, Jill.
What's that?
I was a trendsetter with my.
Yes, you were. You were.
I've had a little bit of Irish tea this morning.
Oh,
I don't know what it is. Tea is like challenging.
I used to drink tea and then I stopped. I enjoy it. I enjoy it when I drink it. I don't know why. I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I love tea. It just seems to be a very expedited process.
Richmond has a really nice blend. They serve it at one of the hotels downtown, to Jefferson Hotel at Christmas time. And Jefferson calls it the Christmas blend, but they get it from a place on Cary Street. And it's not, I forget what they call it on Cary Street. I think it's, but it has cinnamon. It's like it tastes just like a cup of Christmas. It's got cinnamon and it's just really good. I think that's probably one of my favorite teas of all time.
I bet when we lived there, I bet my wife, I bet she went and did. My wife is a big, like we've got this Adiago teas thing. So we've got an entire shelf of exotic tea. And then we've got one huge big bag of black Irish loose tea because we drink loose tea. Not
Yes, right.
Yeah, because I used to do a lot of work over in the United Kingdom, speaking and training and stuff. And I really got into tea while I was over there.
Hello,
And,
can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Still being recorded. Just wanted to let you know,
gotcha.
All right.
just in case.
Right. Yeah. I think tea's a safe subject, but while we're on break, but thank you for reminding us. I appreciate it.
Hello, hello. It is, we're at 5, that's 5 minutes.
We're just bringing the human side of the executive board.
'Cause we missed that in-person conversation, huh? So here we go.
Got to eat a snack, guys, so I'm going to turn my video off for a second while we're talking.
No problem.
I'm making coffee, so it's running through. I have to probably go and get it.
But it isn't bacon. Today's Friday.
So we're working on the last paragraph of the 4 recommendations.
I think the last sentence is fine.
Yeah, I do too.
Well,
I was reading through it.
I
I
don't
think
like-
you're right.
I don't like the word determine there.
Okay.
I'd rather it be implement, but I know we've used implement before.
You talking about maybe formulate?
No, they should already have it done, so they need to put it into action. So implement's a better word. Or, yeah.
Execute. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's execute's nice. Yeah.
I love execute. One of my favorite words.
Probably for a different meaning. Okay. So are we ready to make that one a blue paragraph now?
Yeah, it looks good.
I guess.
Nice, Brian.
Brian, you're gonna have so much fun next year doing this.
Yes, you are.
Well, apparently, I'm going to make Marguerite type it.
No. No.
The Bishop of the town.
Anyway, let's go down to the recommendations. And I think make sure we can really make sure that one by one, I know we have to do some work on number 2, but at least let's make sure every one of the other ones that are in blue we're okay with. We spent a lot of time wordsmithing yesterday though, so they probably are pretty close. So number 1.
I think number 1's fine.
Yeah, I do too. Number 2, that's the one we need to work on. Make that more current to what's going on now.
Maybe for number 1, I don't like how it just says it's period and then change the structure. I think there needs to be some sort of like, as well as change the structure of grant awards. Because it sounds like it's 2 separate things, but
Okay.
just some sort of bridge between those 2 things.
Or in addition, like you don't want to make it, that's way too long a sentence. No. E.B. White with elements of style protest. So say in addition, changing the structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weren't we, didn't we talk about maybe like, I would even go as far to say, because this is what we've put that's what we put last year.
It's been
Changes.
on the report 2 year. Well,
No.
this about the teacher staff
Mhm.
professional shortage has been in the report 2 years in a row. Last year we had it bulleted out with, specific items. And this was what we kept of those bulleted items.
Well, I'm typing something. Let me.
Okay.
I just know Danny talked about this one specifically.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
heard a
but-
lot from her previous,
Yeah.
it was a strong recommendation from the previous higher ed rep.
Because in the past, I don't think we changed the structure of the awards.
right.
We talked about something about the awards, but we never said actually change it.
But they do need to do that. That was Danny's recommendation yesterday, I think, to make it more, to make it strong. We want you to change the structure. so that it can be awarded at the correct time.
It sounds,
About something like that. Or even late spring. Or even June, maybe just say June.
I mean, is the board going to understand what we mean?
It should, I mean, but if not, they'll ask, and then Jill and Christine should be able to explain it to them.
Cool.
yeah, because the problem's been, Danny said, people will start the classes and it's not paid for.
Yeah, they don't know if they should start because they don't know if they've received the grant in order to be able to afford it.
And it's
Right.
been so bad that Danny and JMU have stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what she said?
Yes. She
I
said.
mean, that's pretty bad.
Because I can't guarantee those students that they'll be reimbursed for taking their courses,
Mhm.
is my understanding.
Yeah.
So Christine and
You
Jill,
could put on the end of that in order something, and Brian, I know you're going to change the wording, so please help yourself because you do a great job of that. In order to prepare in the early summer, in order for, and I'm not teachers, students, or in order for education students to prepare, because that's what it is. You need to be able to prepare for.
I would say prepare financially.
Yeah, prepare financially or something like that, because that does explain it a little bit.
Or prepare for the financial burden
Yes.
costs associated with the program or something like that.
students can prepare.
Right, this is a
For
sidetrack.
financial planning,
Yeah, I like the planning part, and yeah, financial
How
planning.
about to ensure students can prepare to pay for the course? For the instruction, something like that, because that's the real problem is if they're not gonna be able to pay for it, they're not gonna take it.
students can pay for the course. All right.
Or afford.
All right, another end of that, when you look what teachers are paying in order to get the education, the reimbursement in the end is not as great as in other industries. So it's really not lucrative to become a teacher because the pay in the end is not that great compared to other industries. So really, teachers are not making enough money to really pay for their investment.
This is just talking about getting the teacher training. Is that?
Yeah, but
You're talking about after you become a teacher, right, Marguerite?
yeah, but if you think about if I'm a student and I'm looking at the amount of money that I have to put in to become a teacher, and yet grants are not available at the right timing, but then how do I pay off my student loan if the money in the end will not sustain me to pay that off? That is also a reason why we don't have enough teachers. And that is one of the reasons why we have teachers who go into other avenues, because they make more money.
So you're saying this a third sentence, like examine the pay scale?
Yeah.
Or-
VDOE really has to look at that. I mean, we don't have a lot of altruistic teachers who said, I feel called to teach, and that's the call of my life. We don't have a lot of those.
I agree with you, but I think that takes us outside of what we were trying. I think the committee agreed to this, and we're just trying to clarify what that meant. And if we go down that vein, then we're actually adding something that the committee didn't agree to.
I agree with that statement, Jill.
Okay.
it goes beyond what this recommendation was meant to be.
Mhm. But it's a good point.
Right.
Keep in mind, if you chase anything that's significant in content to this, you're gonna have to recall the meeting for the full
Mhm.
committee.
Correct,
That's right.
correct.
Yep.
Hank has spoken.
Well, I think you now have got a topic of discussion, Brian, for our next meeting.
Oh, that's always a topic of discussion, definitely.
I mean,
Sure.
Hank, is there some, not for this report, but I think for the future, we need to think about the pay that the Department of Education, or the General Assembly in general, is allowing the school district to pay for the teachers. I mean, that there needs to be changes.
I would think, being that you all are really wanting to move this issue forward, that it might be a great topic for the meeting in July to have somebody from the department come and talk to you about the teacher pay structure and how it's determined and what impact and who plays into all that determination. Certainly it goes back to the General Assembly eventually, but where does the input come from? How do they develop and how they put it forward?
Yeah. Hey,
Would
could
it
you
make sense to include somebody from the Virginia Education Association?
It could. And again, it's something we can talk about setting up for the next meeting. Who do we want and what's the purpose and who should be there?
Okay.
We can
So are
work
we
that
good
out
with
for
this one?
July.
All right, Hank.
Yeah, we're good with that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking too big, too global.
You have to apologize for having an idea. There's nothing wrong with that.
Number 2.
Yeah. No, they brought up a great point for our next meeting, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. I like it. Good job.
The question we have is, do we need number 2? Is that what I've heard us say?
No, we were going to reword it. Everybody agreed that social emotional learning should be a recommendation.
Okay.
VDOE's done a lot of work on this, but the team agreed yesterday that it should be left in, and we decided we'd put it in green because it needs to be reworded.
So here's what I would like to see in that paragraph. We need to add trauma-informed intervention or trauma-informed care, because ESL is not standing alone. It always goes together with the trauma training that VTSS is providing. And it is actually very important right now that is a recommendation that all schools should be trauma-informed, because we have a lot of trauma that we're seeing in students returning back to school. And if we have a trauma-informed school, the likelihood that our teachers are better prepared to deal with that. And also we need more funding for those specific personnel who is able to are equipped with dealing with trauma responses, because the normal behavior and the normal FBA do not work for trauma kids. And everybody has trauma, experienced during the pandemic.
I think we should look at making that middle part possibly a bulleted list, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, you got a bunch of different things in there, which is a brutal sentence, when really it's a series of recommendations, right? For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And in rewriting that, we wouldn't have to keep, because that was, people agreed that just needed to be updated. This particular number, we wanted something about social emotional learning, but it needed to be updated. Like that was what we agreed with this particular one. So we want to keep all of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s in there. We can, or we can update it to be more current, to address, like Marguerite was saying, some of the things that are relevant now. And they might all be relevant. We could decide that.
Yeah, I mean, we need to change up a little bit, because we just left it as it was last year.
I agree.
So, we shouldn't submit the same exact one.
And then that development thing would just be a standalone sentence, I think.
So when we talk about provide school division with additional resources, do we have to explain a little bit more what we mean by resources? Because additional resources can be curriculum, like the ESL curriculum, like MindUp or Second Steps or Hartford, or it can also mean more social workers in the school, funding more positions.
And
I mean, that. Go
I
ahead.
think the reason we went with that, because we had a lot of discussion last year, as I recall, that was very specific. And I think the reason we went with a little bit more broad statement was because every school division needs different things. And so we were going to, you know, basically support the need for whatever the school system determined that they needed, because some school systems may not need social workers. Don't smack me through the, you know, don't get, I know, you know, I said that, that's probably a bad example, but some school systems don't need certain things that other school systems need. So we kind of left it, I'm just kind of explaining why it was written that way last year. I'm not saying we don't have to change it. It's just, that's why it was a broad statement so that school systems could hire what they felt they needed, not based on we think they need.
Can we put in then additional position, you know, for mental health provider as needed? You know, mental health provider could be psychologists, social workers, or counselors, or student support specialists.
So let me ask you something. This statement we did was in last year's report. And what Dr. Hollins was talking about yesterday, a lot of some of these things have already been implemented, unless I misunderstood her. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Or they're hoping to be implemented with the additional funding?
I mean, there is kind of the mandate that school counselor have to be kind of, I think, one counselor to 250 or 350 students. So they're making school division hire more counselor to meet that mandate. And that's, yes, that is being implemented right now.
So
But
what is it?
not with social workers or psychologists. We have a shortage on psychologists right now.
So what has VDOE been doing this past year to help with social emotional learning? Because I feel like they have been doing some things, haven't they?
Yeah, I think
Is there something we want to highlight?
Yeah, my takeaway from her conversation yesterday, the way I wrote it in my notes, was that there's a lot of things that they've done. There's a lot of things that there still needs to be work on. So she would appreciate it if we would continue to support the, you know, recommend to support the work that VDOE is working on. Some of the things they haven't quite, you know, they're still working on them. They've done a lot around social emotional learning, but there's still some work that needs to be done in that area. And then she listed a couple other areas that need to be done. So she said any support that, you know, support for holding schools accountable. That's her exact words, was holding schools accountable for, you know, certain things. And she listed 3 under that, but then there was also the focus points out of the JLARC report. And even though that they were working and they've done a lot of work in these areas, there's some more work that needs to be done. So supporting them in that effort would be helpful.
I like how she rewrote it. Yeah, because I mean, it's not like they haven't done anything, right? That's what I'm
right.
Right. And so I think the way that Christine rewrote that, I like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have done so much with VTSS and the awareness of social emotional learning and the support that VTSS is providing to all the school districts that are enrolled in the cohort. It's really amazing. And that had made a huge difference in all the school districts that I'm aware of. And that was a meeting yesterday I went to, talked about what an impact it made in their school district.
So Brian, looking at this, because it was on last year's report, have we changed it enough, or do we need to continue to change some things?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Was this what Dr. Holland said kind of came to a halt? because of the pandemic.
See, that's what I didn't catch it. I don't know.
I want to say this was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there,
So I was just thinking, I dislike using the same word over and over again. So like I was thinking instead of continue, use the word resume. And it might need to change the rest of the sentence a little bit too, but I just didn't, I think resume might be a better word because again, resume support to the VDOE. As they, or resume support to the VDOE to provide I would take out needed.
From the VDOE to. Can you say resume support from the VDOE to, or to the
But
VDOE?
we want them to
I don't
support
know.
the VDOE, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, all right. The board, you want the board to support them. I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah.
I mean, can we be specific? Resume the support from the board to the,
Well, we're sending this to them, so I think it's just given that it's what we want them to do. That's all.
Right.
But does
We're
the
making-
board, well, wait, does the board not support it? Is that, or,
No, we're not saying that they don't. It's
Right.
saying that this. Well, I mean, from what I understood, it sounded like this stuff kind of came to a halt, and they focused on, everything else going on. So I'm not
Yeah,
saying
like
the board doesn't support this or didn't continue to support, just acknowledging that it needs to get back on track to where it was.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that because it is a recommendation that we made last year. And because we are using a lot of the same language, it makes sense to say resume. So it's we're gonna, continue, but it's resuming the effort to do that. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Well, what do you think of the rest of the wording? The bullets?
They got to be tightened up a little bit.
Yeah, they all have to be consistent with capital letters. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and I would take out such as, just say SEL standards development. You can add such as to the top, such as comma.
For example,
Yeah. I would put initiatives period, for example, comma.
colon.
Yeah, cool.
Because you got a list.
Colon, semicolon, whatever.
Local school divisions, Virginia tiered trauma informed care. And you can get rid of the and after trauma informed care, maybe.
but you're concluding the list?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
I don't know. You have anything else you want to add to the list?
No, but I think for the one that says local school divisions, I would take out to build. I would just say local school divisions, school-based mental health programs.
comma,
Programs and personnel.
comma. Christine. Yeah. Yeah, I can we put personnel, increase personnel? But that would be coming back to funding.
You mean school-based
Is
mental
that-
health programs and personnel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was. Or school-based mental health.
Say that again. I
personnel
missed it.
program.
It's local school divisions, comma, school-based mental health programs and personnel, period.
Yeah, and that is so critical right now because we don't have enough personnel.
Well, you don't have a program if you don't have personnel.
And if we look at ESL standard and development, we also need to put in their curriculum.
Excuse me.
You want to include that as part of the list?
Yeah,
Margaret? Yeah.
ESL standards development and curriculum, because that's hugely important. There are a few very evidence-based curriculum that counties are using, but that is a key.
I don't think there needs to be a comma after local school divisions.
Don't they edit it? The video.
Yeah, they will.
folks?
I know. It's just something on that's.
No, I'm just saying, I understand. That's fine. I'm
It's
just
a me
saying,
issue.
There's something else.
Ask Hank, ask Hank, ask Hank.
If you-
Yeah.
If you think about ESL, SEL, then we also need to look at some grants to buy kind of the things that is really helping with mindfulness and with social emotional learning. Sometimes so I don't know if we can add in there also school division have to pay for curriculum, they have to pay for furniture, they have to pay for toys and all of that stuff in order to provide SEL.
Okay, this is the last grammar
not
thing.
sure
I think divisions needs an apostrophe. That's what the problem is.
I like your editing, Brian. I think it's
Uh,
refreshing.
we
I
have-
like it.
We have some things that are commas and some things that are periods, and
I would,
I know
you
I
keep
know
that
you want to
up.
maintain consistency. Marguerite, I'm not sure I understand what you were saying there. You were
So-
saying that the schools have to pay for this stuff.
And it's expensive to provide a cool down room, to provide mindfulness, to provide other things that goes with SEL. So if it's not something that you said, okay, school division, do that now. Here's a curriculum, go ahead. It is also costly,
But is
So it
that
could be-
With respect,
Go
that's
ahead,
covered
Mike.
in the opening paragraph for it. Resume support to provide school division with additional resources and supports to promote. And then all of this is about resources and supports. I don't think we need to further,
Okay.
with respect, I don't think we need to further detail the money.
And that's the reason I was asking, because you have community mental health providers. Wait, I mean programs and personnel. I don't know what that will
Okay.
look like for each school system. But I don't have as much experience as you as
Yeah.
social emotional learning. So the things you're pointing out are important. Do you need a and after trauma informed? You said yes, because that was the last one.
List. Mhm.
I mean, do we need to change that first sentence to additional funding and supports?
Yeah,
I would say funding, resources, and supports.
oh yeah, okay, here we got, yeah, thank you.
I mean, because that way we're covering
Yeah.
specifically that.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
We need a comma after funding, Brian.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I like it, perfect.
Then do you want to get rid of, we can get rid of that last sentence,
Yeah, I don't like that.
development of these services, or should we leave that?
I think we should keep the rewrite part. I think that's,
Yeah. It's like, are you really done with this one yet?
just keep it human, you know what I'm saying? Go and try to garner a little empathy.
We didn't finish till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Are we ready to make that one blue? I think. Any
I'm
other
ready.
edit?
I'm ready to make it whatever color you would like.
Make it rain.
Mhm.
Bacon. Rain bacon.
Now, this might be little, but I mean, should it say students with disabilities at the end, or you want to just keep it students?
All students.
All students, yeah. It's a subtle point.
That's good.
Boom, next paragraph. If it's blue, we must do.
It's already made it through the House. Now it's got to be finalized by the Senate. So that's what we're doing.
We just don't want to kick it back to the House.
Yeah.
We just want it to be over. Support, encouragement. Support, encourage
Or any-
districts. To develop transition networking councils in which transition teachers can start, in which transition teachers facilitate discussions.
around best practices.
Mhm.
For growing transition districts. Or what's the word there for you transition experts, for enhancing transition, student transition, or
Enhancing is something we typically would say, but if you want to grow it, are you
Yeah, because
building?
it doesn't exist in some places. And Kendra was saying that's why she used, I think, the word grow, because she's saying other places should do it.
starting?
For developing? Yeah, starting, developing.
Starting and enhancing. Or is that too nasty?
Could we also add a smooth transition in their districts? Because, you know, sometimes those transitions are very rough and not even fluid.
But
And it's not.
this recommendation is to actually put together something that's not there, and so that they can network with each other to access information.
Can I jump in and ask Hank a question if he's available?
Hank?
He's making breakfast.
He's making your steak.
Bacon.
It's like a hobbit. The second.
gotta
Bacon
have-
and sausages.
Today is fish day, guys. Fish.
That's a negative, Ghost Rider.
Well, my question is, and you guys may know the answer too, but who are we asking the board? Should we ask the board to support and encourage local school boards? Because that's the one that they would
Yeah,
do that too, right?
Is there a working
Hey, I'm here.
networking council? Is there a working transition networking council?
What I think she was trying to say, and I get what Brian was saying. Brian was asking support and encourage local school districts to develop regional transition networking councils.
So does that thing exist right now?
No,
In-
not
in-
everywhere.
In Kendra's county, it does, in Kendra's region apparently, because she
Okay.
said they do it and it's really beneficial. And she talked about how wonderful it was, and she really felt like every region should have it.
So how about instead of develop?
Hey, I'm out here, Brian, if you got your question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, for number 3, we're talking about, should we support and encourage the school districts, or ask them to support the districts, or ask them to support local school boards?
I would say ask them to support local school boards,
Okay.
because that's where it would fall anyway.
Okay.
And would it be established as opposed to develop?
Or you can say develop, establish, and or develop.
Yeah, that's good.
And is it just teachers, or would it be personnel as well?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Well, some divisions have like transition coordinators who are
What
not,
about,
not
can you say
necessarily
transition, well, staff or faculty?
teams. How about teams?
Teams, yeah. Or as Plankton would say, TM.
To establish, develop, transit, in which transit can facilitate discussions around best practices for starting, transitioning, or starting or developing. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Does it?
I was reading it again.
Right.
We have developed, we have the word develop twice in the same sentence. Is that okay?
No.
That's what I thought.
Starting or building, creating.
Best practices related to effective transition. Or improving, related to improving transition in your districts. I don't know.
Improving transition
Outcomes.
or, well, not necessarily outcomes. Services, maybe.
Okay. Improving.
I would, yeah, delete the rest of that.
Yeah, there you go.
I would just say end it with services.
Support and encourage local school boards to establish or develop transition, which transition teams can facilitate around best practices relating to improving transition services.
I think just within their district is redundant. That's all.
Yeah.
Because it says local school boards. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a consensus here? Thumbs up
Aye.
from everybody?
Make it so.
Christine and Jill, would you be able to explain that one?
Christine, smile if you agree. All right, good.
I can't see her face.
She's got a photo of her smiling.
Oh, they're picking on you. No,
That will be used again. I can guarantee you. You will see that again.
I just want to make sure we didn't take away from the aspect in that one that she was talking about getting people to start transition in their district.
If you agree, stand in front of American flag. All right.
And it wasn't so much. What I took away from Kendra's discussion that it wasn't so much like they have a transition in their district and somebody else has a transition in their district, and what they do is they get together as a region. They get together and they share ideas. And
do we need to include region, like to develop regional transition networking councils?
If you're going after
what
local school boards, I'm not sure you want to say region.
Right. I know, that's why when Matt asked, are we changing the intent? I do think we kind of, you have to have a transition team within your district before you can network with other people. And some districts don't have that strong transition team.
I think moving forward,
but I think
like
Yeah,
right
but
now,
I think Brian made a good point.
go ahead.
No, I was thinking that you guys made a good point because I think the way Kendra wrote it, the way it was written, I don't know if I just want to make sure we're not changing it. I get what we had, why we reworded it the way we did, because Hank's the expert and you ask him, it's really, the board is supporting the local school board. Support and encourage local school boards to establish or develop transmission networking councils. That might encompass what she was saying, Jill.
I'm doing a rewrite.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, again, first thing is, you know, making sure that local school divisions have the transition piece in place. And then moving forward next year, we would say, all right, now let's work on regional something.
I don't disagree. I just want to, here you go. Support and encourage
I think
establishment.
that's what Kendra was saying based on what you guys are doing.
All right, wait, I gotta look at it. Regional.
So it's almost a two-part issue where you have to create it within your division. You have to have that, and some don't have strong transition. Sometimes it's the lead staff of the special education team that becomes the transition person, and that's, you know, not really fair. So they need to you know, focus on having a transition within their district. And then part two, or the second part of that, would be to encourage those the district transitions to form a council. So that would go outside of the board.
So before
too.
you change anything, so
Yeah, don't change it. Yeah.
it's like a
We can build
leadership,
on it.
you know, chicken versus the egg here, right? So every district's got transition. That's required, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So they've got it. It's not necessarily good, but there's some element of transition.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's good, but I'm just looking at
Right.
like what can the board do for this? And so if you establish if we can get regional networking councils, transition networking councils established, in which local school divisions are going to have to send a representative to be a part of, then you can have that cross-pollination. Because that's my big question is from a leadership perspective, what's going to be more attractive, what's going to be more effective, trying to mandate it down to the local school board or trying to establish something that will pull local people and have them cross-pollinate? I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
So
Right. And I'm very familiar with the fact that some school systems don't have it. Years ago, when I was a teacher, that's exactly what happened. We did not have it was not a priority for our school board and in public school, and the superintendent did not support it. And so the special ed teachers ended up doing the transition pieces. And then I, as the department chair, was the transition lead, but I was the department chair of special ed. So we did have back then, though, in our region, we did have a transition regional council. I don't know if it was a council or what it was called. I can't remember. It was so far back, but I would attend those. So you're right, Mike. Everybody has to have something to be in compliance with special education, but that's just how they craft it is maybe different. But somebody would go to that transition council, and it was so beneficial and so helpful. And I took a lot back to the building. So you're right. Everybody has to have it. So the thing that Kendra was saying is she wants, in their region, they have that right now. They have that. So that's great because not every region has that anymore. And I'm not sure who did that years ago. I vaguely remember Marianne Moore was at our meetings when we would get together as a region. And it was a great networking. It was great networking and learning about transition. And then I would take that information back. And I'm not sure that what Kendra is saying is that's not strong anymore. That's not happening. It happens in her region. And she was saying it's so beneficial that she would like to see it in every region. So I think you're right. It doesn't have to be two-part because everybody has a transition person, whether it's strong or not, but just having that regional connection is what she was talking about. That was the basis of her recommendation that we approved.
So
And,
that's why,
and,
that's
and,
why I put the
and
establishment.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
That's what I was trying to capture with what I put in chat, is to get from on high power and support, kind of mandating, let's establish these things, these regional networking councils. And then from there, then you work on encouraging the local school boards to fund the people going to them. I don't know.
Or support VDOE and the efforts for, because I think it was VDOE that set those up. But that was a long time ago.
So they call them communities of practice now, but the reality is, I guess my question was, did we encompass what Kendall was saying and to the best of our ability? And could you and Christine address questions if they came up? And if not, then maybe we need to reword it. Has to be, as long as you guys can answer the questions, you know what I mean?
Well,
If
and
there
I agree with you. And if somebody would ask me to explain that, I would say the way it's written, the local school board would probably say we have that. Like Mike said, it may not be a real strong transition, but we have a transition. And how are they going to create the transition network council, the school board, when they don't have really control of any other district?
How about, I'm maybe adding to this, support and encourage local school boards to establish or develop and participate in.
But who's going to set the need for the transitioning network councils up? Where's that?
No, I'm saying make it and adding to that, you know, maybe starting off with, you know, the DOE thing and then having the local school board thing, the second part.
Yes, I think we have to say that we would want VDOE to support VDOE in an effort to, kind of like we did in this number 4.
So you would get rid of local scoreboards and put VDOE in there?
No,
We would just add VDOE in a, like, you know, it's
okay.
Because they have an office of transition, and it's always and something else, and I always forget the and something else. But they have an office of transition already at VDOE, so we could support them in establishing transition network councils or regional transition network councils, and then encourage the local school boards to send, you know, or to participate in that. So yeah, VDOE would set that up, and then we would encourage the local school boards to participate, you know, in that.
Support VDOE to create local regional transition councils and encourage local school boards to participate, or something like that. Is that what you were
Something
saying?
like that. Yeah, you guys that are better at wordsmithing than I am, but I
think
definitely, yeah. Because
I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to.
Somebody has to establish the council. Like we establish local SSEACs, somebody has to establish that, and that makes sense as a VDOE. They have an office that works on those things. So if we could support, if the Board of Education would support VDOE in that, creating those regional transition network councils, and then the second part would be an encouraging, or we might say something a little bit stronger than encouraging, local school boards to send or to participate, or just leave it at that, to participate.
Local school boards.
transition teams to participate.
Am I hearing a rewrite to put in the chat?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm trying.
I'm hearing what you're saying, Jill, about trying to split this out.
Right.
Split it,
The
but
part-
capture it.
So the Board of Ed would support VDOE in the I don't know, development. You probably have a better word for that, Brian. In development of transition network councils and on support local.
Discussions.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jill. I was trying to.
Yeah, support the Board of Ed, support VDOE in the development of regional transition network councils and encourage local school boards to encourage local school boards to participate.
That stuff is pretty good.
Here, well, let's look at Matt's.
I don't know. I was just trying to.
I like that. VDOE would establish transition network councils and encourage local school boards to have their local transition teams participate in discussions. Participate.
I have there. I don't need the word local twice. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just participate, not in discuss. They need to participate in the council. So how do you say that? Participate in the.
Actively participate.
Participate to share.
Best practices related.
I would just say, if you say and actively participate, that should.
That's what I said, and leave it at participate. Boom, and
Yeah.
actively participate. Yes, I like that. And then period after participate. So we've created it. We've encouraged VDOE to develop that, and then we are going to have the local school boards encouraging. Yes, yeah, I like that.
What about instead of the word encourage, the word urge?
Urge, yeah. I guess encourage is
A little bit stronger.
yes. That's what I like that.
Yeah.
Is it and urge? Not to.
To establish.
To get rid of establish or develop.
I don't know where to.
I would say maybe.
I just say take to establish and develop out, and just say local school boards to actively participate.
Yep.
Like that's what Brian said earlier, but I know it was hard to get all that in there, and then take out the last part after participate. Take that whole thing out. And I think that captures what Kendra was getting at.
Wait, I'm going to take out.
Ultimately, it would.
I think this is maybe leading to like a 3-part thing, and let me tell you my explanation. We want the DOE to do this thing, right? And then we want the school boards to have some accountability for it. But ultimately, it's going to fall on the schools, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So do we need to have something saying and urge local school boards to
have their schools
to support local schools in actively participating,
to have school personnel
to support school personnel to actively participate.
Yes.
Or transition personnel or whoever, whatever you want to say.
I don't know if I like the word support again, though.
Yeah.
Let me look up. Let me see. I got my thesaurus going over here.
And urge local school boards to
local school boards to fund personnel or to.
They could expect it could be an expectation to participate.
What about hold accountable?
Yes, I like that. To hold schools accountable to actively participate. Yeah. For participation, accountable for
Active
For active
participation.
For
participation.
active participation, yeah.
All right, are we all okay with that one?
Stick a fork in it.
Stick
Wait, but this version is what Matt captured in the,
It's
And-
fine with it.
so I'm going to take out in which transition.
Yeah, I think the video is going to do all that actively.
Yeah.
When you go to the meeting, they'll do all that facilitating and all of that. That's a given.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I actually asked one of the first things I did when I came here was I asked them to search out that and we couldn't find it. So apparently that had dissolved.
Well, what's happened, and it used to be on the forefront, transition did, and then it kind of slid to the back a little bit. And even the JLARC study, and everyone knows it needs to remain in the forefront.
Right. And it was wonderful. And Kendra was right. It was wonderful when we had that. It was great.
I think a lot of that had to do with just the shift in the way the schools went to the SOLs and everything. And it not to blame anyone, it was just what was being asked of the schools from the feds.
Okay, so let me read it. Support VDO in the development of regional transition network councils and urge local school boards to hold schools accountable. Yes, I like the way that's written.
Boom. 4.
Number 4.
He's got the fish special on his mind for lunch. I know.
No, I've got a interval workout. That's what I'm thinking about.
Oh, yeah. That's been enjoyed this week.
We're going to go through this document in its entirety. Don't get too excited.
Yeah. I was going to
We're
say,
just editing recommendations. We've got to
go back and make sure we
go
capture
back and review everything.
You guys just destroyed Mike. You just
That's it.
Okay. Number 4, is that okay?
Yeah.
Any changes there? Okay. Number 5. I think that was really wordsmithed well yesterday. I mean, you guys look at it and decide, but we spent a lot of time on that one yesterday, probably.
Could we add one more thing to number 5? If I look over that, there is a criteria sheet that would qualify a student for the VAP who has a significant cognitive disability. And I think that is kind of a misconception what that really means in order to qualify for the VAP, because children on the VAP should be only less than 2% of all special ed students. So there's a little bit more to that. And some school districts kind of have crossed that line and made it very muddy. I think we need to really figure out who is allowed to be on the VAP. Can a student with a 68 IQ go on the VAP? Or is this really a student with a significant cognitive disability, an IQ of 55 and below, that is allowed to be on the VAP?
VDOE, I hear what you're saying. VDOE just updated their, and maybe school systems aren't using it, Marguerite, but VDOE just updated their VAP criteria, and it's more than a sheet. It's like a little guidance document. And I know with the new VAP coming, Mike has been working with the folks on that, and probably could share some information, but it could be that schools aren't using the most current information, because when we reviewed that, I reviewed that with my team when it was put out, and it gives some, it's pretty clear. It is
55 and below or not?
It doesn't say, it doesn't say it that way, but they give examples, and it's very clear that you have to, it doesn't give it gives examples, because you can't always definitively say, just because you're this, you're going to do that.
Yeah.
So they give that some leadway there for teams to make those decisions, but it's really pretty pretty good compared to the previous document.
So and that's I mean, personally, you know, in my school district, we have that line 55 and below, and what if the team is determined that, but that was always our guideline. But in the other school district where we live in, it's not being held up. I mean, they have been pressuring us to put him on the VAP for a long time.
I think you need to pull that manual out, and I know that's probably a separate discussion for you, but
Yeah.
but honestly, they did a lot of work on that, and I know that with the new VAP coming, there's probably going to be some big changes coming. But
yeah, and I
for
think
now that it was just revised last year. I think it was last year, or I lose a year with COVID, so it might have been
the year
before.
before. I mean,
I'm just saying that, like, one of the things we talked about earlier in this meeting was how critical it is to maintain the original intent of whatever these recommendations were that the entire thing had done. And I would, without discounting anything you're sharing, Marguerite, I'm very confident that what we have here exactly captures what we were discussing.
I was not there yesterday.
I agree with, we spent a lot of time wordsmithing 5. I like it the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but everybody else can take a look.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be difficult. This is where we spent most of our time, and I think it gives, nothing's defined right now. Like we only had one meeting on the new VAP. Some of the stuff is confidential currently. Having sat in that room, and quite frankly, more of what we're doing is like, why is this changing and what's it sort of going to look like? I think as this progresses down within the stakeholder meeting, hopefully we'll see how the eligibility criteria integrates with the new VAP. But right now, I don't think it's defined enough that we could make any specific recommendations.
So then 5 is done?
Yeah, I like that. The last sentence emphasis should be focused on verifying that parents understand the implication of this choice. And I really like that. Good job. All right.
Number 6.
Yeah, sounds good.
So this was like the warm up for the workout, and now we're going to do the workout.
I think we need a break before we do the workout.
Yes, we're
I'm
about at time for a break.
I'm going to have to go to my third.
Just quick back to number 5.
Go ahead, Mike, Brian.
Should it say as early as student is identified as having a disability? I mean, I know it's obvious that that's what we're talking about, but I mean, for other people who may be reading this.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Would it make sense that it be a qualifying disability if we're really trying to create that, like they have to truly
having it
qualify for the
identified.
VAP?
Yeah, I think that is my point. The qualification and the eligibility, for qualifying for the VAP needs to be.
Mike, your thoughts?
Identified as a student having a disability and meets the criteria for VAP.
Yeah, right.
I'm aware of massive conflict between school divisions and parents about the difference between outside diagnosis of disability and qualification within the school system.
But we're talking about the VAP, so the qualification to get on the VAP needs to, there's a qualifying factor there. Like when we find children eligible for special education, we have to work through worksheets in order to qualify the child. And so there's 5 questions if we put a child on the VAP that needs to be looked at.
I think in previous years, some of the discussion that had come out was like there were students with a speech and language impairment. They qualified for speech and language services, but they should not have qualified for VAP.
Correct.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's what this whole point is, that those qualification needs to be very clear to the school district, that cannot be misinterpreted, because the student on the VAP should only be 2% of all the special ed population, and there are certain criteria that a child has to have in order to qualify for the VAP, and those criteria needs to be clearly defined. Because going back to the last sentences here, empathy should be focused on verifying that parents understand the implication of the choice. Putting a child on the VAP has a significant implication. So I think, what I'm struggling with, that they are school districts do not all have the same understanding of what it means to be on the VAP, what the criteria are to come on the VAP, and not educating the parents of the implications.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like the first part of this is to put the onus upon LEAs to provide timely and appropriate informed consent for the VAP, which as I look at that, encompasses everything else we're talking about, right? If it's timely and appropriate, it should involve the qualification issue. It should, and should look at. Okay. I don't know how much we gain by being more specific at this particular point. Like,
until more information comes out about the VAP and its changes, maybe.
They updated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a smoking gun or anything, Marguerite, in this. I'm not holding back information. I just know that currently at the stakeholder level, maybe at the VDOE level, it's already done, but at the stakeholder level, they have not talked about the qualification process with the new VAP. And so, if the process is going to be very clear, that would seem to be covered by timely and appropriate, because you guys are explaining this, right? Christine and Jill, you guys are going to be explaining this, or like, how specific do we need to be and how effective is that?
I think I would be able to explain that. I think the piece of informed consent, I agree with you. It kind of encompasses that, but if somebody would ask, then I could explain that. Yes, I could. Christine?
Right.
When you guys present this to the board, do you just answer questions that they have, or are you able to elaborate on these things a little bit more?
What's happened in the past is that we presented, and we actually, they get the full report. We create a presentation report that's even scaled down further. Okay. So this may come up as a bulleted item, or no, this as a recommendation. The full recommendation would be there. They allow us the opportunity to present the report in its entirety, and then they pose questions if they have questions at the conclusion. So it may be something that they come back to once we've completed our report.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, it sounds to me like when you do your presentation, you could add a little bit to this one verbally rather than in writing.
Well, what we've done is we've stuck to we would read this verbatim. Recommendations, we read verbatim. So as they are written, it is the only area that we do not,
how about this?
go ahead.
So I'm going to read the last sentence and then I'm going to add something and I want to see what you guys think. Emphasis should be focused on verifying that parents understand the implications of this choice and clear explanation or clearly defining the standard for qualification, something like that. Like on that last sentence, emphasis should be focused on verifying that parents understand the implications of this choice and that the qualification criteria is strictly followed, or something like that. What do you think, Marguerite?
Yeah,
The student meets the criteria. The student meets the, yeah.
yeah. I think that my struggle is that school districts in general have different understanding of the current criteria and what ID really means. And when a child is able, and if you have a child with a specific learning disability on the VAP, then that is not a specific learning disability. Or if you have a child with a speech and language impairment on the VAP, then something is not right here. And so I see that over and over again when I get reports from other school districts, and we have children, they're coming to us, and then we look at the criteria and we're looking at how they qualified. Some of them we would never qualify.
Mhm.
And so there is a big discrepancy there. And so I think we need to make,
I agree with you. I just don't know that that was in the spirit of what was originally
yeah.
discussed.
But if we're looking at the new VAP, if we're looking at what the new VAP implicates and and the impact on student, we also need to look that the right children are benefiting from that and not the wrong, because the choice can be very detrimental.
Yeah, I think that's something. I think
as a state SEAC, it's our responsibility that we at least need to point out that if we qualifying the wrong student for the wrong thing, it has long-lasting implications. And that's why I like the last sentence so much, that everybody needs to be informed of the implications of this choice, and the criteria need to be very clear.
Cool. So is it good the way it's written right now?
Yeah, except for Brian says remove the.
That criterion is clear in that. So
and that the criteria to qualify for the VAP is very clearly met. I think I would add that criteria to qualify for the VAP is clearly met.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think that that's good. And I'm sorry that I'm very passionate about it, but that is actually what I have, what I'm facing with my child right now, and I'm not sure where to go here.
sure. And then just is everyone, and I'm agreeing with you, is everyone comfortable that represents what we talked about yesterday as a larger group?
I think, I think it does.
Okay.
I think that was covered. I think in most people's minds yesterday, that was part of the first sentence, informed consent, that it was implied. But Marguerite, if it makes you, I don't think it's going to take away from the definition of what was determined if we define it more clearly.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
All right, good.
Yeah, I agree with, I don't think it takes away from what we were trying to do yesterday, because that informed consent, that's implied in that. So we can that's just explaining it, I think, more clearly.
Christine, you put in criteria. Yeah.
Criterion that.
I would say, I would just then remove that. Get remove that as well.
Standards.
Focus on verifying a parent understand the implication of this choice and criteria qualify. Was clearly met. We're clearly met. Okay.
Boom.
Should it be is instead of are? And
Well,
if I'm wrong, Brian, tell me.
We get it. criteria and criterion are one's plural and one's singular. So you got to go with whatever one you want to go with, and then use the appropriate helping verb along with it.
So is
So
it,
if it's criteria, it's going to be are, and if it's
are.
criterion, it's going to be is.
then put it back to R. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the English lesson, Brian.
Yeah, I'm here to serve.
Just so you guys know,
I can use a lot of that.
I was a collaborative math teacher. I am not an English teacher. I write in the passive voice. I was told it maddens everybody, the readers.
Okay, so I think we probably can move on to, and we said number 6 was, did we say number 6 was okay?
I thought it was,
Okay.
but I'm
Yeah.
just one person.
And I like number 6 because it's kind of a big issue right now in some of the school districts because we have a lot of new teachers and the process is not very clear. And so, yeah, and so they need a lot of training here.
Beautiful.
Well, do we need to add how we want them to do that? Like creating a module or provide training? You know, I think that needs to be clearly stated in there.
I think VDOE is going to be working on that because it came out of the JLARC report.
Yeah. I think that the assistant principals need more training in order to write the prior notice and, you know, better support to the special ed teachers who are new. I think we need to, yeah, they had modules in the past. And so maybe they need to be, you know, revamped, but I think it's really, really important. Good job. I like
if we
it.
want to give VDOE guidance on how we think they should do it, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, we could add that.
That we didn't talk about that yesterday as a team. We didn't talk about how they were going to do that, or that we wanted to give them that particular guidance. We just talked about supporting their efforts to do that.
I mean, we define what our expectation is or what we would like them to achieve, and that allows them the ability to design the process to get there. I mean, I'm certainly not in the design of educational process business currently.
And we've done it in the past where we have asked them to put together modules, but it was for things that they weren't currently working on, but they're going to be working on this one. That was one of the ones Sam used in her example, that they haven't moved forward with this so much. So we should support them in their efforts in moving forward with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need, again, if it's a recommendation, we need to recommend the board support the DOE to, we use the word support a lot, and I need that to be changed. I'm sorry. But let me see. Aid, help, back. Assist.
Assist the VDOE.
They're not really going to assist them though. The Board of Ed, they're not going to assist them. They're going to
Endorse.
I'll make it a priority.
Prioritize.
Yeah.
no.
Reinforce.
Reinforce training.
Prioritize and reinforce training to improve knowledge. Prioritize VDOE's effort and reinforce training. to improve knowledge and skill of administration. Yeah.
It should be efforts, plural.
VDOEs. Prioritize VDOE. I don't know. Effort.
Efforts. And reinforce training to improve knowledge and skill of administration.
Or reinforcing training.
I think reinforce is good.
Should it be and reinforcement of training to improve?
Yeah, that sounds better. Can we, and to include stronger secondary transition plans by creating,
What about just creating stronger secondary transition plans? But then again, that falls back on the special education teacher too, which it doesn't say anything about in there. Get comfortable, Matt.
I am trying. I'm slowly sliding down on my couch, which my wife has quarantined me to the living room. She gets the office.
I mean, you might want to say,
Prioritize VDOE's effort.
something about and to, I don't want to, you know, it's kind of two separate things. I mean, they're both about the IEP, but we want the admin and general education teachers to know more about the IEP process and their responsibilities. But then again, transition plans are a separate thing because they need to be written by a special education person.
yeah, I think the transition plan does not.
I mean, we can make it fit, it just doesn't fit the way it is.
Yeah. So.
Which include.
Would it be to include stronger secondary transition? Wait, let's see. Participate in the IEP process. and to
Planning.
include
I mean, you want the
stronger-
special ed teachers to write stronger secondary transition.
And that's what I was getting at, like
Yeah.
to include stronger secondary transition plans.
Planning.
Planning provided by the special education teacher or.
Well, it has to do with their role. You know, the first part has to, the way it was written in the JLARC report is the roles of those.
Right.
So, you know, it's not just knowing what an IEP is about. What is your role at that meeting? And that was what was in the JLARC report, which Sam made reference to.
You say improve.
The role.
Yeah.
Because administrators and teachers, sometimes the way it was spelled out for them in that study was that when they interviewed administrators and general ed teachers, they didn't know what their role was. They didn't even know what they were supposed to be doing when they went to the IEP.
Well, I would say effectively participate in the IEP process and understand their role.
Right. And the IEP process to include transition planning and understand their role. But transition planning is a part of the IEP, but it's just, so it's not real, but they.
Can we, what about, don't hate me, but I'm just saying maybe about stronger secondary transition plans can go up to number 3 because it's a little bit more related.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That needs to be
I
brought
agree.
up to there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would make
I
3
agree.
a little bit longer.
Makes
too.
more sense though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe within this, there could be some education about how to write stronger secondary transition plans.
To write stronger secondary education transition plans. Or
Or you say, and
active
provide training on,
participation.
or provide training on how to write stronger secondary transition plans.
For their active participation and for training on how to write stronger secondary transition plans. I don't know if you need education in there again, or maybe you do. I don't know. Post-secondary education transition plans.
Perfect. I like
Just
it.
write, why don't you just write stronger transition plans?
I think, okay, we're breaking up that too much. We're changing we're changing some of the stuff. I think we could say something like, local school boards to hold schools accountable for their active participation, comma, which would enhance writing or, writing stronger transition plans for students.
Yeah.
And the
And
delivery,
then once that's done, that
Yeah.
and the delivery of transition services.
yes, would enhance, which would enhance writing stronger transition plans and the delivery of services.
Delivery of services. Yeah.
And the delivery of
What
services.
about, instead of saying enhance, what about highlight?
I don't know.
No. I think it would really help.
Weren't they
with-
trying to establish best practices? Didn't we
Yeah.
wasn't the discussion
Yeah.
around best practices?
Yeah.
Which would include,
I mean, enhance is fine. I would just throw it out there.
could you say improve? I don't know.
I think enhance is all right.
All right.
Or you could say, if you wanted to put best, which would improve best practices in transition, best practices in the delivery of services for for transition, which would improve best practices and the delivery of transition services.
For the delivery.
I would take the writing of secondary, I would take that out, yeah. Which would improve best practices in the delivery of transition services
When you, instead of,
for students with disabilities. Because some places use transition for everybody.
I don't know. I think that's taking out a lot of what the intention of writing better transition plans was about.
well, what,
Okay,
well,
I mean,
I think,
this is about, what I see here is about, this is the transition plan. This is how to best do it. This isn't about how to write the best transition plan and do it the best way, which I think is what we want to say. We want to say both of those things. So I think if we put back in, writing effective transition plans and delivering them through best practices, something like that.
would improve.
so you want to take best practices out of where it is and maybe just leave it out and just talk about the writing of effective transition plans and the delivery of transition services for students with disabilities. Is that what you were saying? Kind of.
Yeah, which would improve writing. Well,
Developing.
should say
effective
which would
transition.
include writing. I would improve isn't right. I think it should be maybe include. Include writing effective transition plans and the delivery of transition services for students with disabilities.
Developing effective.
Developing. I like developing better than writing.
Yeah, they're not gonna be writing.
Transition plan has a lot to,
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
fine.
activities too. But, yeah.
We're in the, oh, now I got the word development in there twice though. I didn't.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm sorry. In the development of regional,
What about creation? You can change it to creation
in the creation,
or
creating effective.
I like that.
There you go.
Okay.
Could we put now a number 6 as number 4? Because we're talking here about transitional services and IEP, and then we have the verb together. From a
What?
line of thoughts. So prioritizing VDE's effort, put that as number 4. And then having 4 and 5 as 5 and 6.
So, so before we start to put this in a priority order, as I go back and look at Dr. Holland's report and her identifying, you know, what came out of the JLARC report, eligibility was number 1, IEP and transition were number 2, applied studies was number 3. And there is a lot within the JLARC report around applied studies, the applied studies diploma. And so our applied studies recommendation doesn't have too much to it. And I don't know if we need to take a 5-minute break and come back to this. What do you want to take a 5-minute break?
I know.
Yeah.
I know what I can put in there.
Yeah, let's we're at 10:23. So you want to come back in 5 minutes, 10:28. Does that sound all right?
how about 7 minutes?
7.
Yeah,
Do you want to just come back at
7 to 10
10:30?
minutes, please. Yeah.
Okay, 10:30. We'll come back to this at 10:30.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. It's 10:30. All right. We're working on number 3.
4.
Oh, 4. Okay, sorry. Do you want to reprioritize the list? Because your list starts with teachers and staff.
Well, let's, I think we just do number 4 first, and then we can worry about the,
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with putting it in order. If Sam had some priority for them, that's fine.
Again, I would put number 6 as number 4 because they belong together. And then have the verb as the last point.
Just move 6 up.
Yeah, as point 4.
I was on mute. No wonder anybody's paying attention to
Oh,
me.
sorry.
All you people paying a bit of attention to me. I was looking at the JLARC report for number 4, which is now number 5. And it actually says Applied Studies Diploma and related curriculum and resources on the screenshot that I took. That was their exact their area of focus was Applied Studies Diploma and related curriculum and resources.
Yeah, I got that too.
Hey, Jill, they also put in there, and this is my thing, not to beat a dead horse, but the future implications of an applied studies diploma. You know, you talk about inclusion, but they can't be included in any courses at a local community college unless they pass the Virginia placement exam. But
Yeah, I think that's an important point, Matt.
I mean, it's not only about getting the applied studies diploma, it's about the future implications that you get it.
Right. It had the most concerns within the JLARC report and its recommendations. I mean, there are more recommendations around the applied studies diploma option and its implications and how.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to, I just don't know if we want to, restate what they're already stating in JLARC, but I think it's important that we just make a comment about its future implications or something like that. I don't
And
know.
ensure, or you say to ensure something about the parents understanding the implications.
Right.
They're working. The reason I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. So I hesitate,
Right.
Right now the implications are horrendous. They're horrible because you can't get federal funding and we can't change that. They changed the way that the language in that, I guess it was a grant or what, I don't know, the federal.
And it could
guidelines.
be, and it could be that something you guys want to talk about in the future, but I think it's.
Well, I think you could probably say something like, support them moving forward. And then once once it's completed, ensuring that parents know
its future implications.
its future implications for their for their student, for their children.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that. Because no matter which direction they go, people need to understand the implications, even if it improves the implications.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good or bad. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's just,
Unless they got the money to pay.
Isn't it, it limits, does it not? Would it be a limitation? It's
Well, we
future
don't know.
limitation? Oh,
I
okay,
mean, right now it does, but we don't know what VDOE is going to do with that. And
okay.
once they finish doing something with it, it may not limit kids as much as it is now. I mean, they started working on that some time ago. If you recall, they came and gave a presentation to
Yeah.
to us, and they had a form where they were going to divide it into 2 tracks and very clearly delineate what that meant. But and then that kind of stopped because of
Yeah.
other priorities. But I do think that whether it's good or bad, I think implications is better than limitations.
I can live with that one, guys. Thank you.
Is that good?
Good with me.
Good with me.
Yeah.
Is it good with you, Mike?
I like it. Thank you.
Can we put a comma after completed, Brian? I'm asking you because
well, it should be like then, comma, once completed, comma.
yes, yeah.
Oops, I forgot to turn my video back on.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Well, I would say maybe ensure parents understand its future implications. We need another word in there.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Oh, no. Is that me on the screen right now? Or is that
You
you?
are.
No, I mean,
This
I
is
got
my head.
Oh, crap. No, my computer's doing an update, you guys. Cisco's doing an update. And I didn't know if that was, Christine's computer or my computer. I think it's mine.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if
I don't
get
have anything on
knocked out,
mine like that.
okay, if I get knocked out,
Or we
I'm
just see
sorry.
you. We don't see anything else.
It's just me. I'm the problem, Houston.
I turn off automatic updates at all times.
Yeah, this is the Vita thing that I forgot they were doing last night.
All right.
How about instead of move forward, you say progress? Sorry,
I know.
Where? Where? Wait,
number 5, as they progress with working with LEAs.
okay.
It's just a more accurate word, I think.
I like it.
Sorry, that's just some of those things just bug me. That's all.
I'm used to that working with you in policy.
Thanks.
We all have our strengths.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Does that look good?
Yeah. I say, Joe, can you order those again? How Dr. Hollins had them, you said?
I took a picture, but
Yeah, I did too. What are you asking for?
the JLARC area of focus, it was 6 bullets.
It was eligibility first, IEP and transition second, applied studies third, inclusion fourth.
And then recruiting and retaining qualified special education teachers and state supervision.
Right. And then it was monitoring, but
Yeah.
Well,
Did she say that was her priority? Did she?
Yeah.
I can't remember. She said that was her priority of things.
Yeah.
She said it was a
Civility.
focus. She didn't say it was she said it was a focus areas. It was I don't have everybody on my email, but I could forward it to Marguerite if you have it.
I
you wanna
have
forward it
that.
out or okay.
can you,
I have that.
I was going to say, share the screen.
I can text you that, Christine.
So are we trying to mirror someone else's priorities, or are we trying to set our own?
We are setting our own priorities. We will
Okay.
set our own priorities.
All right. I was hoping that's what we
That's
were
a good
doing.
point. Yeah, but yeah, it's us setting the priorities.
I just don't understand why we need to put a lot of time into trying to mirror somebody else's.
I think I just assumed you guys were asking for that just because you wanted it, but no, we would set our own priorities. And we will want to pick out, since there's 6 recommendations, we probably do want to prioritize, because Christine and I did that last year. We prioritized because they gave us permission to do that. And because with the number of recommendations, if the board would say that's a lot of recommendations, Sam actually, Dr. Hollins actually said, you want to know, if they ask that question, which ones are your top priorities. And so we picked out 3 for our top priority. And so it's probably a good idea to do that this year as
Right.
well, because we have 6.
How many do we have? 6, you said?
There are 6 recommendations, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
my top 3 would be making, well, my top 3 would probably be
Are we voting on this? Top 3?
No, we don't have to do it this way. I'm just letting you know. I mean, the applied studies diploma, secondary transition, and better. Well, I mean, the secondary transition one that we kind of combined is a good one. It's number 3, I believe. No, not number. Well, that one, and then the one about I think it's.
I zoomed out so you could kind of see them a little
Yeah, no, that's
better, but
fine.
can you, I know you can't read them, but maybe quite as clearly, but. And I don't even have them all.
I mean, I
on
think
here,
number
but
4 is important too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all important. Like, and this is just my piece, right? I'm new, so I will shut up and listen after this. But like, without staffing, none of this happens.
Yeah.
Right? And
I
so I
agree.
always, whenever I'm looking at situations like this, like, what is my favorite book is Essentialism. What is the most essential component to be able to deliver any of what we want to have happen? And that's why I think staffing is a critical area.
it's why it was remained at the top last year. And now we've put more emphasis on, please change the funding structure to help.
Yeah, but if those of you guys that have been on the executive board longer than me think that it's been on there too long and it's becoming redundant.
well, yeah, and I'm also thinking along the lines of, what has come up most in public comment, what has come up most in constituency reports. Those are what we need to prioritize, not our own personal feelings, I guess, but what has come up most in those situations.
Can you tell us what those were again, Christine? You said it once.
Say, what's that?
The 3 most common things, you said it once already. Eligibility, IEP, and transition. Is that what you said?
Equity was one that came out a lot up between the constituency reports.
Virtual learning, equity.
Right,
I had them written down.
and IEP.
Yeah, something like, the IEP. Yep. Those
But
were
yeah.
if you look at what
Here's subcommittee discussion, family and community involvement, parent-friendly language for IEPs, updated parents guide, updated list of parent resource SSEACs, increasing equity language barriers. Student and chief equities coming up within subcommittee work. And then when you got up into the, this is what was coming out from
and I did prioritize.
constituency reports, virtual learning, IEPs, equitable, teacher retention.
And those were prioritized based on how often
they appeared.
Without a doubt,
What
virtual
I
is 100% the most popular topic
Right.
that I run into in my Region 6.
What I like about the way you guys did this year's report is the board can see how we work, how we drew these conclusions, how we came up with this.
Mm-hmm.
These are common themes, the common topics. And here's our recommendations.
Right. And
But
if you look at public comments, it's the in-person learning, the appropriate the FAPE, IEPs, VAP now has come up. That's why I was asking, we'll need to go through this again. We'll need to grab March public comments to include in here, Marguerite.
Okay.
So there's virtual learning is number one. So your top recommendation would be virtual learning.
Yeah.
Well, which recommendation?
Right. Which recommendation was applicable to that?
Ah, boy.
We don't
Was
have
that number
that.
two?
Oh, none of them
No.
were.
I think it's captured within we did
Yeah, we
it in our
talked about it.
opening statement. That's
Yeah,
where
we talked about
we said that was
Yeah.
most prevalent.
So
Yeah, okay.
I really like number 1 and number 2 as to remain number 1 and number 2 because as Mike already said, if we don't have enough staff and appropriate teacher training, then we can forget special education as a whole. And I think especially when we return back to school, back to learning, SEL and trauma-informed care is really, really critical right now. Because schools are being put in places where they provide more mental health than at any time before. And then I would agree with IEP and transition.
Unknown caller.
And then with the VAP as the last thing.
I would do that. Yeah. Where'd you put the applied studies diploma?
I would move that up.
Yeah, that needs to be.
Put that together, okay. And then have the transition and then the IEP.
I'd almost put the training for the administrators and teachers before the transition. Well, I don't know. They're both kind of equal.
Yeah.
They kind of go head to head. But we already have some things in place for transition, but we don't have anything in place for the teacher training for administrators. And we run in, that's come up a lot in our meetings in the past with the administrators, as far as, they always want to evaluate our special ed teachers the same as a regular ed teacher. We run into that all the time. And John pointed that out when he was here a couple of years ago, that's been a big problem for them. So understanding what special education does, and that training will help with that.
Yeah, I think having 3 there matches up a little bit more with the public comment emphasis about the IEP.
Right. That and constituency reports, and it's and it's all throughout the JLARC report. So
Christine,
yes.
Number 4, I would put the 2 VAP comments together.
Okay.
Because otherwise, they are, it makes more sense if they're together. Yeah. Yeah, good.
So do we think that those 5 and 6 need to go up and transition be the last one? I mean, I think we're already doing things with transition. We can certainly build on that program, but the other things need a lot of work. The applied studies, the VAPT is in the process, and then transition.
Yeah.
So let's look at so number 1 was the teacher. Number 2 is the social emotional, which it covers inadvertently some of that equity that we discussed. And then 3 is what? 3 is the,
Do we want to make a statement within number 2 about equity?
I think
support, promote social emotional learning and equity. I don't know. We didn't talk about it at our meeting, so I'm hesitate putting it in there, even though it was, I think inadvertently, that's why I say inadvertently, you're going to cover issues of equity when you're dealing with all of those things.
Yeah, so like enhance connections for students and families to be more equitable. No.
so.
By create.
I think we're good.
I'm lost. Okay.
So when you guys present this, as long as you have like notes, what you're going to say, if they ask questions, you could add that in there. Could you not? Or I don't know. I've never done the presentation. You guys have.
I think it would come in like through follow-up questions, you know, if they have questions around that. I think everything about, well, a great deal of this is about equity.
Everything that's listed there.
Right, right. Is it not? You know, VTSS by nature is equity.
I don't have a problem with the way it's written.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with the order you guys came up with either.
Yeah. I mean, one of the rules of editing is the longer you do it, the more you do it. So I think we're at that point.
So then we can scroll to the top because it sounds like we're good with the order, the priority order.
I mean, if you wanted to add the equity, it would fit right after that. Just saying, it would fit right after that sentence where you said, resume support to the VDOE to provide local school divisions with additional funding, resources, and support to further promote social emotional learning and enhance connections for students and families created through existing initiatives that would be equitable. Or, you know, you could put just something right at the end of that that said, you know, that would be equitable.
I'll be right back.
That are equitable, and then put it. So that just, you know, so when they're considering all of those bullets, they need to do it with that in mind as they're developing those programs.
Okay.
Does that sound okay? Where did Brian go? Okay.
He's waving from the back.
So yeah, get his eyes on that. But
I'm here. I've just,
I say I don't know.
I wasn't too concerned about the order. I figured.
No, I'm just saying we added
put it in a
that.
good order.
We added something that said that are equitable before we got to our list. Does
Yeah,
that
no, I've been listening.
Okay.
Do you think that sounds all right?
Kind of like the other thing that we were talking about is kind of assumed, but it's not like what Marguerite brought up the last time, you know, informed consent kind of assumes that criteria, but this also, we're assuming equitable, but this kind of spells it out. It just says it.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I guess we're ready to go back through the whole document now, right?
Yes. Very quickly. Well,
you know, there's not a lot to go back. I mean, there's a lot to go back through, but I think a lot of it is
right. It's been completed.
It's been massaged.
Yeah. These are the meeting dates. And then these were the topics for presentations that we had this past year, beginning in July.
And of course, you're going to take out you're going to make everything black in the end.
Oh, yes.
Just clarifying, but
The public comments, Marguerite, do you have those public comments? Can you maybe copy and paste what the public comments from from
I think
Wednesday?
Hank, no, it was yesterday. Hank sent that to me. I was not in that meeting. Let me see quick. I did not. I got that this morning.
And then I will remove the, these were the bullet points on the first pass, but they've all been captured below and placed in order.
mhm.
So I'm going to remove those.
Delete.
What's that, Brian?
I said delete.
Oh, okay.
I hate that one is not on the same line.
I know, but it'll change when I insert March public comments, so it'll shift around.
Those are the things that bother me, Brian. That's what
Right.
I hate it when I have a table too and half goes to the bottom. I'm like, oh.
So one comment of the public comment for March was that due to virtual participation on the SEAC, there is not a list of SEAC members being found.
Oh yeah, one person said they were having
Yeah.
trouble reaching or finding the
SEAC
chair
members.
as well as when the meetings were.
Yeah, so that was.
And that was our local, right?
And then, yeah, and
Yeah.
can't attend because they do not have way of knowing when the meetings are. They can't make public comments because there's no way of knowing anything about it. So that was the one.
Y'all could probably encapsulate that a little bit and just make a statement that public inquiry regarding the availability of information for local SEAC.
Yeah,
I like it.
and thank
Put
you.
it in the
And
chat.
Yeah, write that into the chat box.
And then there was another kind of comment that SEA could do a Facebook page and then link events to the page so that everybody could participate on that
So additional
Facebook page.
outlets
Yeah,
for state SEAC meeting information.
yeah.
That would all be a part of that same public comment.
Okay, I can't get my chat box to show up.
That's not good.
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere.
Did you click on it?
I did, and it's not.
It
I
might
had to
have-
click on mine a couple times before it came up. So that's interesting.
Yeah, let me see if I do this. Up. Okay, that helped. I found it at least. Okay, so and I'm sorry, remind me again. Oh, wait.
Yep, Brian puts
Uh,
up.
Okay.
So there was another comment about the possibility to make public comments. And it was about a Women's Alliance, the WARE organization. I hope, do you remember that?
Say it again, please.
Okay, so the second public comment was about the National Women's Historic Alliance. And I would like to make public comments, but I'm not quite see.
Oh, that was the
That was the "we want more publicity" comment.
Yeah. But that, yeah, don't see anything that is relevant here.
It was just like a
We want to come speak to you about our topic,
yeah.
even though we're not
Yeah.
sure how it would be relevant.
And then the other one was about the VAP waiver and the JLAC report.
Jimmy.
And she highlighted it, a vast majority of divisions could go over a decade without receiving an in-depth review of their special education program from VDOE. So this is about accountability for counties.
I'm sorry, I'm getting lost.
Okay, then the next public comment was about the JLAC special education report. And she points out that VDOE, here was this quote, and she highlighted, a vast majority of divisions could go over a decade without receiving an in-depth review of the special education program from VDOE. So if the division is not being categorized in the critical category, VDOE is not making those visit like they did in the past.
So she's talking about having more frequent monitoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can encapsulate that even simpler, like Jill just said.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be, you don't need to capture every bit of a public comment here.
No. But I think that was the gist if I look through the public
Frequent
comments.
monitoring of school divisions.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, these most recent public comments, they had a lot of stuff in there. So it's kind of.
Well, wasn't there one on was there one for teachers and getting them back? What was that one?
That was all mixed in with another one. So that's why it's hard to.
Yeah.
And so in the same one, she also talks about the VAP waiver and that Virginia is out of compliance in terms of that.
Concerns about the VAT waiver.
Yeah.
And again, that's being addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
we
there you go. You know, opposition to the VAP waiver, that I think you captured that in a quick bullet.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. It's already on there. Yep. All righty.
But it's my understanding we have to include the what was the women's group?
Yeah.
What are we saying about them?
To have a bigger platform for public comments.
What is this additional outlets for SSEAC, state SSEAC meeting information?
Brian, put that in the chat box. Is that a continuation of the?
It was about the Facebook.
Yeah, someone had said something about making a Facebook page or something.
Then I would add something at the end of that, such as, you know, creating a separate Facebook page or a separate page on our website, I think is how it read, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was just kind of open there, like, whoa, what do you mean?
Yeah, and I think a lot of them were. It was just like a whole lot of different things in each one of the.
Well, and here,
comments.
Another issue with this is if parents haven't subscribed to the VDOE Facebook page, they may not see the notices for the SSEAC that go out through Facebook, through Twitter, and the other other social media outlets.
That's what I was going to say. Should we just say separate social media pages?
I would,
instead of calling one out?
Yeah. And then the next one was about teachers not receiving the vaccine, and that should be made a priority for special ed teachers to have the vaccine. But I think that's already being addressed.
I think that's been addressed, and teachers were put in.
Right, teachers got the vaccine already.
Right, but it was a public comment, so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Long day.
11 o'clock. Come on, man.
Okay, tell me again the women's group.
Okay, let me go back to that.
The where group.
The where group.
Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere.
And they want our group to do what?
Along with working with the National Women's Historic Alliance and being in correspondence with the Fair Work Commission for Women, we have a petition with over 3,300 signatures to integrate more women's history into the curriculum. In line with the petition and its support and our women's history initiatives, we really would like to make a direct impact in video's upcoming public comment sector. Would it be possible for us to speak or submit comments? It would really help us work towards our goal, and we would be so grateful to work with the change makers at VDOE. That we should email and so on.
I think you've got it in that bullet right there, but it's wear, like as you wear your clothes, WEAR.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
And you might need to
I was going to say, what did
spell
it
out
stand for?
what it means for.
Yeah.
It is standing out.
Yeah. What's it called? What's it mean?
Women's equality and something. Let me get to the public comment I read yesterday. Where is it?
Yeah, I have it up here. It doesn't, it's not spelled out.
Google it.
Equally representation of women and women's rights.
Yeah, that's it.
Say it again.
Women's equally representation of women, but I don't know where the A is coming from. It's a student-led nonprofit organization dedicated to gender equality, representation of women, and women's rights. And they're working together with the National Women's Historic Alliance.
Can you put it in the chat box? Because I don't think I'm catching the name of the group.
Okay, let me.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I
got the website up, but it doesn't. I can't find.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, was to Google it.
Where it has the.
She does not. It's www.
It's w-e-a-r.org.
Yeah, I have that in there.
Women for Education, Advocacy, and Rights.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's all right.
Perfect.
Women for
Ooh.
education.
Advocacy and Rights.
Thank you.
I think that's all the public comments.
Okay.
Did you guys capture that didn't we hear a young lady's comment about women's history yesterday?
That's what we just went over.
That's that one right there.
Yeah.
I got you. Thanks.
Wasn't the last person, the rather long one she was grateful for the virtual meetings.
Right. She was giving kudos to the state SEAC.
Yeah, I gave her an opportunity to be able to participate, to be able to view and
Right.
on top of it. So she was advocating for the virtual, or appreciation of the virtual meetings.
And then
Did she also talk about the local SEAC? Was that who that individual
Yes.
was?
And
Is
she
that-
talked about
Yeah.
the Facebook page.
Well, I just thought-
Could there be a consideration placed towards making a state SEAC Facebook page where events like training and dates of the state meeting could be more easily spotted?
Yeah, I just thought we could add the fact that she was positive
Yeah.
about the meeting.
Yeah, she said that she was now able to watch online while she's supervising her children.
Wait,
at home.
Christine,
Does
that
that
should have
help?
gone. That should have gone to the bottom one.
They're not one and the same?
No, one's for the state and one's for the local.
Right, but I'm saying she was the same individual who was
Yeah.
commending the state SEAC for live streaming, but having difficulty locally
No,
being involved.
I thought there were two different ones.
I thought they were the same. Hers was the longest, I thought.
Yeah.
We had a lot of things in there.
She
Yeah.
said, I were to look for SEAC information in the surrounding area. I might may not find dates or meetings,
Okay.
a list of SEAC members, and I'm not sure that any of them include a way to reach out to the SEAC members with concerns or questions, unless this is done throughout the Director of Special Education in the district. And then she's asking for a list to get that. And then she also would like the Facebook page so that, meetings are being available and that they can post public comments. And so really participate in the meetings.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that needs to be wordsmith, but I think we'll get to that. Here is, this is what was captured out of constituency reports. Virtual learning.
Yeah, I think that was pretty complete.
Okay. And then the topics that were identified in subcommittee discussion. And Brian, I know that policy and regs didn't just cover CSA funding and regional training centers.
Yeah.
Didn't come back to me. I gotta find the minutes.
Yeah. Matt, yours, I think you said looked good.
Yeah.
That was what you captured in your subcommittee work?
Yes, it is. And then Kendra, she had that one recommendation, which we already captured.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about, we had discussions on teacher retention, parent engagement, obviously the JLARC study. We talked about some bylaw changes for the state SEAC.
Retention.
Did you get all that?
Is that everything?
I think there's one more, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I thought I heard another.
Parent engagement.
Okay.
I think there's only two people in my group now. Kendra and me, or Kendra and I. Am I saying that right?
Maybe
Well,
that.
now there's just one.
I was going to say,
Now it's just Kendra.
There's 5 new people
Kendra's
coming
going
in.
to be the chair.
We are the group of attrition.
Matt, there's 5 new people coming in that don't have a committee.
Oh, they're going to be.
We're going to mix things up. Don't you worry.
You
Yeah.
get to task everybody. You
Yeah.
get to identify your subcommittee chairs and where you'd like to see people put on different subcommittees.
Ooh.
Okay. So we're good on those, the
Mhm.
subcommittee discussion. We've got the recognitions, the commendations. You want me to blow that up a little bit?
Could we add in for the recognitions? Could we add in like who they represented after their name? I think that might be good.
Okay.
I see that
Good idea.
they're missing Christine.
What's
She's
that?
not leaving. She's hanging around.
Do you want me to
year.
leave? Mike, do you want me to leave?
Yeah, like you're the outgoing chairperson.
Oh, Well, but
She's
I'm
going
not
out.
like, I'm just stepping off from the chair. Unless you want me to leave.
Me and Christina are on the same 6-year plan.
Yeah, with Dr. Castle. So
Yes.
next summer, you all will lose Brian, myself, Dr. Castle, and I feel like there was maybe a fourth person that year.
I can't remember.
You and I started together,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been a long road.
Yeah.
It went so fast. I can't even believe where 6 years go. Holy moly.
Okay. Well, I can add that in. I don't need to.
You might want to highlight it in yellow so you don't forget.
Green. I thought that was green.
You're
Can't
green.
even
green.
spell the word rehabilitative, and I have to write it every day, Christine, so don't worry about it.
We're near the end. Yeah, might as well just put it in now and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
Virginia Department.
We have the longest titles, though, don't we?
Yeah.
It's to make up for that excessive compensation.
Oh. For some reason, I didn't think we were being recorded today. I obviously dressed in my best apparel. Oh.
Okay. Commendations are good.
Yes. They look great
Mhm.
yesterday.
Yeah, we looked at those and people didn't seem to have an issue with any of them.
Okay. So we captured everything there.
Mhm. And now the recommendations.
And the recommendations and any closing remarks.
Hey, Christine, can you go up just one page, 1 second?
Sure.
Back when you were at the initiative and opportunities. I know we had put down the center. Wait, did we go too far, or did I?
I don't know.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, never. We're good. We're good. Thank you.
Yep. Closing remarks?
Jill, do you have any?
And the conclusion sounds fine to me. Well, let me read it again. Appraises the opportunity presented.
Yeah, I like that you put in, it's our hope that BDOE will keep students with disability a priority by considering and implementing the recommendation. And so you said VBOE, don't we say VDOE?
We're asking for the Board of Education
Okay.
to write.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Technically, wouldn't it be without delay, not without a delay? Brian, what do you say?
Yeah, that's right.
Without comma delay? Oh, sorry.
Just without delay.
Gotta have a comma, man.
Apostrophe. Let's put an apostrophe somewhere in there.
No, I'm never gonna get my tour.
Okay. So this is good.
I think it is.
We can change everything to black.
I think it's tremendous.
I mean, I would just say as a newer member of the state SEAC, I'm proud to be associated with it.
Awesome.
I think a Neil Young song says out of the blue and into the black,
Good song.
or out of the black and into the blue. I don't know. It's been so long.
Can't remember.
And
Okay.
of course, remove the header.
Oh, yes. I think there's still some formatting changes to be made.
Huh.
Okay. All right. I think this is good. And I don't believe it requires any more official motions on it.
No.
I love it.
Yeah, motion. That's my motion.
You're going to make a motion.
A
It needs-
gestural motion.
Okay. Yeah. What's up, Hank?
Yeah,
Nothing.
I would just say, Brian, moving this meeting to Friday after the business was a great
Genius.
idea. Hank, thank you for recommending that, because this is like the first time I didn't feel like super stressed that we were getting it done, and it gave us enough time to take, to have a lot of input. So that was just a great idea, Hank. I just want to say, the years that I've been doing this, that was probably the single most best recommendation for this annual plan.
Absolutely.
Put us last.
Yeah, I think, right now, the way it's going is we've moved in a really good direction with this, certainly moving the date up to give the plan to the board, as well as this opportunity for us to meet prior to, we're working on the plan as well together. I think that's just going to be so helpful for everybody in the future.
Mhm.
And this was more logical sense to have them have input, and then you all wordsmith it rather than you do it all together, wordsmith it, come back, and then they want to wordsmith it even further.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'm not sure who set that order of events. That was sort of
I don't think it was Hank.
no, it was there
No.
before, because it was there when when
Oh,
Brian
no,
and I
no,
came
no,
in.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
this order of events today.
Yeah.
This order of event, that was a good recommendation. Yeah, prior, I don't know who set that prior. I have no idea.
I mean, literally can't imagine how you would have done this without that input the first 2 days.
It was,
It was like the exact opposite of what we did. Like, we did all the grunt work in the beginning, and then like afterwards, like we had lots of people providing additional input, which made it extend a really long time.
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good.
much more stressful and much more time consuming. And this was just a really much less, just really it was just good altogether. It was very logical. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be of service.
Yeah, I like too that we have outgoing members like Matt on this committee and finishing it up with him. I mean, that's really cool.
Well, thanks. I didn't lose any more hair over this meeting, so I appreciate
I'm gonna miss you, Matt.
you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Don't forget the reunion.
And just keep in mind, the next step is for y'all to just review this with Dr. Hollins. And normally that's Christine. It's usually the chair, the vice chair, and then the incoming chair in this case. So Brian, you would be invited to that meeting as well.
Okay.
So the 3Ms are, we don't have to be in that meeting, the 3Ms.
Correct. It's just for
That's good.
prepping Dr. Hollins for its presentation to the board and how they're going to set that up. It's got nothing to do, it's not a meeting about the SEAC. There's no change. It's just about,
Right.
you know, informing her, this is the report, this is how we want to present it, this will do what, and whatever. There won't be any changes made to it in that meeting. So it doesn't constitute a SEAC meeting.
It's
I
generally
think
pretty
that's
quick
what's
too. It's not, doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I
before
think,
we, oh, go
I
ahead.
think you've got it set up where, yeah, it'll be a quick review and then you'll follow pretty much the same format as you did when you presented last year. But, you know, Dr. Hollins likes to, you know, be aware and see the content, and we've got to put it together in a board a board entry. So we need to see what it looks like and make sure it's been proofed and checked for readability and accessibility and stuff like that. So, but that's done outside of the SEAC meeting process. It's an administrative process.
Vector 12.
Before we go, I would like to say, you know, definitely thank you to Matt and Jill for everything. You know, I've always enjoyed working with you over the past several years, and we've had some fun times together, definitely. And, you know, I hope you are able to come back when we are in person just to visit and say hi. And, you know, so I appreciate all that you've done for the committee, definitely. I look forward to working with Marguerite and Mike and Christine over the next year as well. You know, it's going to be another good year, so I'm looking forward to that. And I wish you guys the best. Certainly, I hope we can keep in touch.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Yeah,
That's
Jill,
what
I-
all of you.
yeah, Jill, I will miss you too. I really hope that you can come in person. And you know, you had so much knowledge and so much wisdom, and I really appreciated that.
Well, you know, I live in Richmond. So, you know, if you got back to the in-person meetings and you guys want to do dinner sometime, just let me know.
Yeah.
Pop over and we'll eat dinner together. And so you stay
And not talk about SEAC.
and not talk about SEAC, not talk
We
about
go
SEAC.
barbecue with goats. Not
Steak dinners for Matt.
That's right.
No, we'll have what they refer to in the Hispanic world as cabrito.
Yeah, it's because you're on your own time in the evening. So yeah, if you're on your own time in the evening, and I know you guys are staying lodged up somewhere. So if you let me know when you're there and send me a quick text, I'd be happy to come over and hear what's going on in your lives.
If Shanae is still in existence, I'll be at Shanae. So
I think I have everybody's email, so we can at least send you guys an email just to say hello. But honestly, it's been a pleasure, and I can't say thanks enough to everybody, especially, you know, the old timers. We did have a lot of fun. I won't, Brian, you're going to have to find somebody else to harass for sitting on the wrong side of the table.
We will. There's new people coming, so.
Okay. Make sure you tell them not to ask questions towards the end
Y'all
of
are
the meeting.
crazy.
That'll be part of the orientation process.
Are we meeting in person for July, or is it?
That hasn't even been, I just mentioned it as a possibility, Christine. There hasn't
okay.
been any solid discussion yet. Other than to let you know, because the board is meeting in person, that I was going to request and pursue potentially us returning to in-person in July. There's been,
Okay.
beyond my commenting to y'all, there has been no discussion yet.
Okay.
but it was received well, Hank.
Well, no, I know it, and I know y'all want to get back to in person, and I know some of the questions that I'll be asked about it is, you're a much larger group than the board, and how would we be able to maintain any required social distancing and so on? And one, given the governor's restraint on meeting size, we may not be able to meet that. So
Well, we could all go to the hotel and get our computer in our room.
that, yeah. we had to see how things play out. The governor's supposed to maybe put out some new stuff on it for
We have
April
certain meeting
1st.
times.
And well, creating more, with the COVID, he may have some new changes that could impact and make it more feasible for us to return in person. But again, until I see that, I want to wait. I was just wanting to get your reaction to being able to go back, which was positive. So that means I should move forward with making that request. So
Okay. Keep it
that
covered.
will occur within the next couple of weeks.
So what do you do at Video E? Because you have all these big spaces with partition. I mean, that is kind of, are you meeting back in the building or?
No,
Are you
we're all
still
still
working
on telework.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on plans for return to work at the present time, but nothing directly. And I don't see us all going back all at once, and probably be a lot more continuing on telework. But that's a topic for a different discussion. This is the SSEAC meeting, so.
Yeah.
So let me ask very quickly, because yesterday we received a request from our folks with the Tie Center if we wanted to offer them any feedback. What would you all say if I could sort of get your, what did you think of their presentation of the Tie Center?
I like some of the resources that they shared with the clips, the video clips, and it always brings it back to home. We all kind of feel the same way. I think we all have the same focus, about inclusion, but it's always nice to bring that back home, and then look at some kind of innovative resources that people have created around that. So I enjoyed it, and I thought it was good.
I thought it was well thought out. I thought it was delivered in a much more interactive than I've experienced before manner. So I thought the presentation was well done. I like that they had somebody that was monitoring chat at all times. And then like what Jill said, I thought that, it's kind of like without teachers and without home support, our students are really disadvantaged, and I think it was good.
Thank you. I will share those sentiments with them. So other committee business, I don't know that, Brian, really, you can set calendar dates and set goals and future presentations in your July meeting. Your calendar at this point is set through December.
Yeah.
But calendar dates and goals, I don't know if you want this committee to help set your goals, or if you want your incoming committee to set your goals.
Well, I think going along with how we've changed things, I think it would be good just to kind of start fresh in July and have the new committees set their goals.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yes.
Just one.
Did something right.
Not that you ask, I just threw that out there.
Hey, one clarifying question, Hank. So if the in-person meeting, we would be allowed to come to get our certificates?
Yeah, you certainly would be able to come as public entities, if nothing else, or potentially as invitees of the department and the SSEAC to either do a presentation on what is going on within your organization that may be beneficial for the SSEAC to hear, or you are always welcome to come as part of the general public. So,
But I mean, is that would it be okay to come to get the certificates? Was that a good idea? Or were you planning?
If they tell me we can go in July, what I may do is reach out to everybody that would be getting a certificate and ask if they want to wait and come get it in July. If not, I'll mail them.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I think having you receive them in person would be the most appropriate if we can do that. But again, July is a long way off, but I'll start that discussion as soon as I hear what the governor's plans are for group sizes.
I hear you. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, any
I was just trying
further,
to get one-
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was going to get one less breakfast. That's it. Go ahead. I'll finish
So
with
in our,
that.
so in our further discussion, Marguerite, are you getting that? Are you getting that in the minutes?
I'm working on it right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm picking up the mantle of leadership for you, Matt, on that area.
Any further discussion? The time is now 11:35. I will close this meeting for the last time as your chair. Thank you all for joining me.